Days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way. From off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time, and we have lots of information to go over today because Day 8 is in the books. Day 9 is rapidly approaching. We're going to be there for Day 9, so I'm super excited about that, but there's a lot to get into from Day 8 before we ever get to feast our eyes on Day 9 practice.
This is 100% accurate. There's a lot of things to talk about. A lot of stuff happened today. A lot of conversations going on, so make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss tomorrow. We got a lot of stuff that we're going to do. Live stream before, live stream after, some stuff to talk about, some good Sunday videos for y'all as well. You don't want to miss anything that we got coming up, especially for tomorrow's Day 9 of training camp at Levi Stadium from the 49ers Cutback. But for now, let's focus on Day 8. Let's take it one day at a time. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves because there was a lot of things to talk about and a lot of things that happened today.
Yeah, we don't mind San Francisco. Put it out there. Just you can use it. That's fine. Yes, there's so much to get into with this. I mean, there is so much to get into with practice. I know we're eventually going to get into the quarterback watch, which I think is on everyone's mind. But there were some interesting developments in that, in the way Kyle Shanahan spoke about these guys. I think gives us an idea of how it's going to be in the future. I think we were already leaning to where he is headed with this. But we'll get into that in due time because there's things that we need to take care of before that. And I think everyone understands quarterback watch is going to be there throughout the episode. We're going to have, I'm sure, plenty of time to talk about it. So we want to make sure we give everybody, a fair shake and talk about everyone on this team because there's a lot of cool stories going on, a lot of impact players that are stepping up, and just it's progressing nicely there at training camp.
It is, and you got guys stepping up and you got guys stepping away from football. And Mr. Zettel, Anthony Zettel, our D lineman, who had a nice little showing against Trent Williams the other day with that nice little spin move, and then Trent Williams decided to pancake him. Well, Anthony Zettel's decided he's stepping away from football. He's going to retire. This is the first guy for the 49ers at this camp that's done this. I know the Giants have had a few players retiring middle of training camp after other things and situations going on there, including running and punishments and things of that nature. Zettel steps away, though, and now the Niners have brought in Davin Bellamy in his replacement. They basically signed. That's who they're filling that 90th roster spot with.
Yeah, and with Zettel, I think he was trying to give this another shot. He had been with the Niners in 19. He's played for Chris Kasarik in the past. And he was going to see if he still, wanted to play football. And sometimes when you get into training camp, you just don't want to do the dog days of summer. You don't want to get out there and put yourself through this type of stuff anymore. He's a good player, able to go out on his terms, which is nice. But I think, if he thought he wasn't going to be able to make this roster, that might be why he decided he was going to go ahead and step away and not put in the effort. So he's gone, but now we got a new guy coming in to play. I don't think the new guy has any chance to make this roster, but he's a guy that's going to take reps and be a camp body, and the 49ers are going to count on him. And he's trying to put out good film so he can get picked up by another team or land on this practice squad eventually. So he'll be out there working his butt off, and Chris Kasarik will show him the same attention he shows everyone else, because that's just how he is as a person and as a coach. So it was a little surprising to see Zettel go, just because I'd heard he'd been stacking some good days. So I was actually looking forward to seeing him in person. Now I won't get to see him in person, so I'll take a look at everybody else.
Yeah, that's all you can do. It's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, everyone's going to make the decision and take the path they want to take.
Yeah.
And so, to Mr. Zettel, we wish you the very best in whatever it is that life has in store for you after football, and thank you for everything you did for the 49ers and the time you spent here. For Mr. Bellamy, though, like you said, it's going to be very, very difficult. He spent 2 years on the Texans practice squad in 2018 and 2020. 2019 he was with the Cincinnati Bengals. This is just going to be a camp body, like you said, and this is a guy most likely who's just trying to make a practice squad and continue his development. The good news is for a guy like Bellamy is you're in the right place for development, because Chris Kasarik can get his hands on you and do some stuff with you, and you never know what could happen, especially if injuries start piling up. Please no. Then, the depth and having guys that you're comfortable with and working with and that are up to speed is going to be important down the stretch. Niners are staying healthy right now. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Needs to stay that way. But we did have some DNPs today, some nice do not practices in today's practice. Eric Armstead out with some groin tightness. Kentavious Street also out. Zach Kerr, groin tightness as well. Samson Ebukam with some leg soreness. And Azeez Al-Shir, obviously, with the knee. Kyle Shanahan in his press conference talked about the D-line being wounded. Yeah. Wounded might have been an understatement for today.
Yeah, and I think it's a consistency, right? They work so hard at that defensive line, so these guys are getting these days off. We ask questions all the time about Nick Bosa's maintenance, or at least people do. I don't so much ask about the maintenance days. But this is what happens. When you're putting yourself through the rigor of everyday practice and everyday camp, and you're pushing the sled and you're getting off hard and you're going, these intense practices with Chris Kasarik, you're going to need days off. You're going to need time to rest. You're pushing your body to the limits. That's what you like. You get that done now. You get these breaks in now. Camp is always tougher than the regular season. Once they get practice in the regular season, it'll be toned down a lot. So, take advantage of these days off now. The guys that are sitting are guys that you understand why they're sitting. They don't really need to be out there as much. Ebukam is the one that really needs to be out there. But he's, I'd rather them take care of him, and make sure he's ready to go. Once he is ready to go, then he'll be out there and he'll be doing his thing. But I'm okay with hearing about soreness compared to a pulled muscle or something like that. So soreness, rest, we don't need anything else.
Soreness prevents the long-term injuries, right? The pulls, the tears, things of that nature. When you're sore and you're taking the time off that you need to take, your body has a chance to recover, which means less chance of long-term injury. You don't do those things, we got big old problems, which we don't
always.
We don't want any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm totally good with taking the days, the maintenance days, taking the extra precaution, because there's things that they can do and they can work on. These are professional athletes. They don't necessarily have to be out every day reinstilling certain aspects in certain areas, especially guys like Kerr, Armstead, who've been in the league for a very, very long time, right? And they've been in this San Francisco, well, not Kerr, but Armstead's been in the San Francisco system enough that when he's taking days off, it's not the end of the world. Kentavious Street has been here a little bit now, that when he takes a day off, in terms of, missing some times and reps and install and things of that nature, you're not as concerned with it because he's been here. He's worked with Kasarik for a few years now. He's got an idea of what is expected and what this D-line is being asked to do. Kerr, not so much, but Kerr's a vet. He's been in the league forever. Yeah. Vets talk about this kind of stuff all the time. They hate OTAs. They're not big fans of OTAs, right? They're not big fans of the first parts of practices because there's no pads. It's basic install still. It's all the boring stuff that they've been doing for years, sometimes decades, and in the case of George Blanda, an eternity, right? He did all stuff forever. So It's just like, they need to take that step away. They don't really like it as much. So when you can, every once in a while, once you get the pads going, right, get the hitting going, and guys are a little tight and sore, when you can give them that little break and just give their body a day to just take a breath and be like, all right, I'm feeling better. Let's get this done. It's going to expand. It's going to expand their career, right? It's going to keep them a little bit fresher and healthier throughout the season. And it also mentally just gives them a chance to just digest everything that's going on, right? And focus on themselves. Because athletes, there's one thing athletes sometimes are really bad at. It's taking care of themselves. Because it's go, 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 nonstop. I have to be better. I have to improve. I have to improve. I have to improve. And sometimes you don't take the necessary rest time that you need to let your body recover. And you got a coaching staff and a training medical staff in San Francisco right now that's doing a great job of being like, hey, you know what? We're going to slow the roll here and give you a day and let yourself recover. It's just going to help protect the athlete from themselves.
Well, what's nice, too, is they're in tune, right? The players are in tune with their bodies. They're in tune with the medical staff. and everyone's doing what they need to do to make sure these guys stay healthy. The most overblown thing in camp right now is these injuries and these days off. Days off is the most overblown thing. So that is something that I'm glad that we're kind of, I guess we're always approaching it and talking about it, but we're not going over the top on it because we know what injuries really mean to football. We know what these normal rest days, how important they are. And you're going to see it throughout camp. It's just the way it is.
Correct. There is one injury right now that is, I would say, that has occurred and that has happened that is something to watch. And that would be Jaquiski Tartt's, the toe injury.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only one that, honestly, it's the one that no one's talking about, but it's the only one that has any sort of impact on this defense. Because we both thought Tartt was the starter and would be the starter at that safety position. However, with how things currently are situated, right, with Tartt being out and on the PUP list right now, he was on the COVID list, he's off the COVID list now, on the PUP list with the toe, that door is wide freaking open.
Yeah, and thanks for the super chat.
Niner by nature.
Niner by nature. He said he loved the show. We really appreciate it. We enjoy having you around. All the great comments that you've been having. Big starch supporter of Trey Lance.
Absolutely.
We like to see it. But yes, you're right. As far as the safety room, we've been talking about this for a while. That Tartt's position was going to be, hard to hold on to. And now that he's got this injury and he's sitting there in the PUP list and he's not practicing, these other guys are getting opportunities and they're taking advantage of these opportunities. Tavon Wilson has looked really good in camp. And he's been battling with George Kittle and doing a good job on the defensive side of the ball. I thought Tony Jefferson was going to be the guy that was really going to push, but Wilson, we thought, was going to be the reason the Niners had to keep 5 safeties. So now it's looking like Wilson's going to push for that opportunity to start, and I love it. So this is going to be a very competitive safety room. You have Jimmy Ward that has everything on lock at the free safety, and then you have the strong safety room that is a little bit more complicated. I still think Tartt has the ability to start, but he has to be on the field to do that. And if he's not on the field, Jefferson or Wilson's going to get this job, and they deserve it. They're out there practicing every day. They're both very good players. They're both veterans who understand how to play football. And so either way, I think we're excited about the 49ers safety room because it's deep, and we're in a better position now than we've ever been before.
Agreed with you there. 100% agree with you there. The safety room is as deep as it's ever been, and you love to see it. Megan, we also love to see that. Appreciate that a lot. TCC for life. We love the Cutback crew. Cutback crew is incredible. Man, already off the get-go, 2 nice super chats. We appreciate it. All of you.
We do.
Then there's other things to talk about because you got guys coming off the COVID list, right? So you got guys going on the PUP list. You got guys coming off the COVID list, which is great. You got one guy doing both of those things, and we want him back from the PUP list real soon.
Yeah. Tartt went from list to list.
He's list jumping right now.
Yeah.
But Javon Jennings and Emmanuel Mosley aren't list jumping. They're field jumping. They're getting back on the field, getting into shape. Shanahan talked a little bit too today. I loved that in his interview. How confusing it was for him looking at 41 out there playing safety and looking a little bigger and stronger, and him
Tony
being
Jefferson.
Like, what is the man? Oh, that's right. That's Jefferson, and Mosley's 4 now. But Mosley back on the field today, first time, right? All training camp, and Javon Jennings back on the field today as well for the 49ers.
Yeah, it was limited snaps for both of them, which I think you can expect because they're going to need that acclimation period, right? They're going to need to work in, but Mosley got first team snaps, and he made great plays. First play that Jimmy Garoppolo tried to throw Deebo Samuel, he knocked it away. He made a pass breakup. I don't care what anyone says. This is Emmanuel Mosley's job. Emmanuel Mosley's going to be cornerback 2, and he's going to do a great job. I think he's confident. You add in the added element of this great pass rush being strong again this year, and Mosley will have another successful season. So this was a nice return. Javon Jennings also coming back because I know me and you have both said he's going to make the 53-man roster.
Accurate.
And now he's out there and he's proving it. The fact that he got deep over the top on Jimmy Ward, who's been having a bang-up camp, I mean, he's been looking very good, and he goes out there and gets behind Jimmy Ward, and he makes a play. Jimmy with a nice toss there, getting him the ball, out in space. That is a good sign because the one concern with Javon Jennings is always separation. It's always getting behind the defense. Can he get vertical because of the speed? It's always been a question. If he can do that, it's going to be scary for everyone else because this guy is physical. He gets the ball. He's going to be able to run after the catch. There's a lot of added elements with him as a possession receiver. You're looking for a guy to replace Kendrick Bourne. This is your guy because he can do it, but he's not a stick of gum like Kendrick Bourne. This guy's a physical, freak of nature, so he's going to add that extra element. Like I've said in previous casts that we've done, if he catches the ball on 3rd and 8 at 6 yards down the field, he's getting the first down.
He's a big dude. He's a big body. He's a bully. And that's one of the things that, we liked about him, and it's the thing I hated about him, right, in college. He just bullied his way. He bullied Florida up and down the field every time we played against him. It just drove me up a wall. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And of course, he catches that freaking Mary at the end of the game.
He's a dog, man.
He is. He really is. And so if he's healthy, right, it's looking like maybe there is some speed there. Maybe he does have some nos in the tank, and he can, spin the wheels a little bit to at least extend and get past, the second level and the third level, and take the top off the defense a little bit. He doesn't have to do it a lot. He just needs to create. He's big enough, right? Big enough body, size, height, all of that if he can just get a small step, and you can get the ball in space where only he can get it, he's not going to have too much problems bringing the ball in. He just got to fix some of the drop issues he had last camp. Day one, big catch over the top already. I like it.
Yeah, speed and stature. He kind of looks like Anquan Bolden towards the end of his career.
There you go.
When he was here in San Francisco. No, I'm not going to say he's going to be Anquan Bolden. I don't want to put any sort of pressure on him.
That's a lot of pressure.
No, I'm just saying it's just as far as his physical, stature and overall speed, the way it looks. And Anquan was still able to get behind everyone. The one thing with him, though, is he was such a great route runner and just a very seasoned vet. So he is special. But that's what I see out of this guy, is that physical nature like Anquan as well. So any sort of poor man's Anquan Bolden, I'm all good for. And if he develops into something special, I'm definitely happy with it. But overall, it was nice to see him back on the field, making plays. And the fact that he's already, lining up some chemistry with these other quarterbacks, it's going to be nice to have him out there, because the big concern last year was catching the ball. He didn't have a problem catching the ball today. No,
not at all, and it just needs to continue, right? Continue progressing that way, Jawan Jennings, and you're going to be A-okay. You're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Got to keep doing it, though. Jalen Hurd gets his first catch in 11-on-11s from the Sudfeld. Man, again, just adding on to that total. Yeah. What a quarterback that Sudfeld is. I'll tell you what. Caleb's losing his mind over there right now in chat. He's going crazy. But no, you like to see that intermediate route as well. Again, showing his ability to get open across the middle of the field. This guy can do it all. This guy just needs to stay healthy. I cannot wait for this guy to slowly start working into more and more reps. And hopefully, more and more reps starts tomorrow, where we can actually get a lot or a good chunk of Jalen Hurd and get to watch a lot of it and break it down. Yeah. But if it's not tomorrow, also next Tuesday, also Thursday. Any of those days are fine.
Yeah, I just want to see this guy out there making plays. I'm glad he's working in. We talked about him getting into 11-on-11s, that, it was going to be a process. They were going to target him and stuff. What I want to see is when he gets into not just running routes, but when they start moving him, pre-snap, in motion, and all that stuff, just what they do with him overall, how they play him, Debo, and Brandon together. Those are all interesting things. I mean, Shanahan mentioned it a little bit that basically in the offseason, they didn't count on D Ford or Jalen Hurd. They acted like they're just bonuses, they're cherries on top. So they're really hoping these guys can come in and contribute, but they're not counting on it at this point. At some point in camp, if he stays healthy, they will turn to, we don't know what we're going to get out of him, to we can count on this guy and he's going to make big plays. And that's when it's going to be really exciting, because this guy right here is a freak of nature as far as on the field. He can do it all. We just haven't got to see it yet, and I'm hoping this is the year. I've doubled down that this is the year, and I'm going to stick with it. We need to see Jalen out there, and I'm excited to see him tomorrow.
No, big time. Big time excited to see him tomorrow. Big time excited to see Mosley, the secondary. Another guy in the secondary that's been having a better stretch. We talked about at the start of it, right? Around day 4, when we were breaking down some of training camp, we talked a little bit about the struggles Ambry Thomas was having.
Right.
And the fact that, he was having to get coached up on the field, and people were freaking out. People were losing their minds. The talking heads, this guy's a bust. We got nothing behind Verrett, and we're screwed at the cornerback position. And then all of a sudden he puts together a few good days, and now the talk is that this guy is, this guy's number 2, right? This guy could be the second guy. Thanos is out there putting out there, this is the cornerback 2 right now, right away. We don't even need to see Emmanuel Mosley. Just forget about it. This guy's cornerback 2. I just like the fact that Ambry Thomas is improving.
Yeah.
I expected him to come out and struggle. I expected him to have issues. Technique, coverage, scheme, playing against NFL wide receivers and the NFL wide receiving core that the 49ers have put together in Debo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, right? Those type of guys, I expected him to struggle with. I expected him to struggle with the craftiness of a Mohamed Sanu.
Yep.
I expected him to struggle with the speed of a Travis Benjamin. I expected all of those things. You know what I didn't expect? 8 days in for him to start putting together not one good practice, but 3 good practices. Now the question is how long can the streak go? Can he keep building? Because if he keeps building, he's going to start closing that gap on Emmanuel Mosley. He won't. I don't think he's going to surpass Mosley. I think it's going to be extremely hard, especially now that Mosley's back and on the field and able to get out there and practice. And that was one of the things that Kyle talked about, was that both Mosley and Jennings didn't have symptoms while on the COVID list. So they're not deconditioned. They were able to stay in shape and keep their bodies where they needed to be. They just weren't able to go out in the field with everybody else and do it. So now that they're out there, great. On top of the fact that Mosley doesn't have to, get reacclimated fully, just a little bit of reacclimatization, that's going to make it tougher for Ambry Thomas. But Ambry Thomas has now shown that he's at least now in the stadium to compete, right? He's not at the drawing board trying to figure it all out. He's got a better idea of what's going on. He's got a better idea of what's happening around him. He's more comfortable. And now that he's more comfortable, he's going to start putting it down on tape, putting it down on the field, right? And pushing Emmanuel Mosley just a little bit, which I'm excited to see, because this is what we were hoping.
Yeah.
Is that this guy could eventually, get himself to be the guy next year going forward.
Yeah, that's what the expectation should be, is that we can get him up to speed to where if Emmanuel Mosley or Jason Verrett goes down, we feel comfortable with this guy being on the field. He has to learn the system. He learned a lot in OTAs, and they threw a lot at him. It's a culture shock for these guys. Practices are different. Scheme is different. The way that they're taught is different. The way they have to prepare their bodies. Kyle Shanahan has talked about this multiple times. You come away from OTAs, and you got 40 days to take everything you learned and try to get it in, the way you need it, the way you need your body, the way you need your mental, all that. And these guys are coming back, and now they had to re-up the OTAs and re-up, everything that they learned in the install, and they have to install this again. And what you've seen is a click, right? So if he's had 3 good practices, it's probably because it finally clicked. And he understands what his job is. He understands where he's supposed to be on certain plays. He understands what the secondary coach wants from him. Those are all big things that he needs to understand. There's a lot that goes into playing NFL football. From X's and O's, and until you figure it out, you play slow. You play from behind, because when you're thinking, you're not moving as fast. That's just the way it is. So once it clicks and he's able to figure it out, he's able to play with freedom. He's able to play with instinct, and he'll play a lot better. He's a guy that has claimed, and I believe it, that he is all about the mindset and the cerebral part of football, and that is why he's going to figure this thing out. It was always going to be a slow curve with this guy. I don't know why we expect anything more from these rookies. I think we were expecting this to be, rookies that stepped in. This isn't Ronnie Law. This isn't Eric Wright. This isn't 1981.
And not every rookie is going to be that either.
They shouldn't be. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, you're coming through all different parts of the draft, all different areas of football, playing for different defenses, different schemes, different coaches. Everyone prepares and their approaches are different. So everyone's learning curve is different. Even Trey Sermon talked about his learning curve and how it is with Bobby Turner compared to what it was at Ohio State and the things that were asked of him. The difference between playing in I-backs and then playing in shotgun, and how his track and his lanes are different, how he has to play with tempo and be patient. All those things are important, and all those things a lot of times get glossed over because we're looking at it from what results are we going to get this year from these guys instead of the process it's going to take to get them to those great results.
No, I agree with you there. And it's good to see, because you compile Ambry Thomas and what he's been putting together the last few days, and Hufanga then turns around and puts out his best day, right? His best performance of the day.
Yep.
They put him in the box, right? Kyle talks about the fact that he's trying to run around like a little Troy Polamalu. He's got a long way to go till he's like Hall of Fame level,
yeah.
Hall of Fame status. I love that little line that he threw out there. But it's great because it's obvious they had an idea in mind, and that this guy was going to be a guy that could contribute in the box, especially the hitting, all of that. They love the energy. All the things that we had kind of talked about pre-draft, and once the draft happened and they actually went with this guy. And now you put him on the field, you put him in positions to be successful, and he has success. Stops Trey Lance in a couple of read option plays. Just filling really well in the holes. Guy's got really good vision, especially when it's coming to understanding the run game and where to be. And that just kind of plays onto the fact that the defense as a whole has been doing a really good job of that. So he's able to feed off of everyone's energy and what everyone's understanding and digesting of this offense and how to read, run, and play against the run.
Yeah, what was nice was hearing that the run fits were so much better today. What run fits mean is when you're stepping up into the right locations, being in your gap, in your responsibility, and filling lanes. I know Raheem Mostert got away with one early and cut back and took it to the house. That's what Mostert does.
Accurate.
And if that vision is there, then he's even worse. But having these fits is important. Filling your windows, that's what you need. When you get a safety like Talanoa Hufanga that can play in the box, but can read like a linebacker and be able to fill those spots, that's what you need, especially against these outside zone teams. You get everyone flowing away, and then all of a sudden they cut back. You need that safety there to fill and be able to make a play. Him, Jason Verrett was filling also from the corner position today. So you're going to see these defenses, especially the farther we get into camp, they're going to be making more and more plays because they're doing a lot more scheme. You know what I mean? Now it's blitzing. It's coming off the edge. It's twists. It's different coverages. It's shells. All the things that they weren't doing before, they're doing now. And that's going to make it a little bit more difficult for the offense. Yes, the offense and defense work together to make sure that they don't always show that, you don't want Trey Lance always seeing man coverage or Jimmy Garoppolo always seeing man coverage. So they go back and forth, making sure that sometimes they're seeing zone, sometimes they're seeing man. That way they have great film to go off of. Plus, that way the defenders are seeing certain things as well. It's a very well put together game plan as far as practice goes. And that's what you're getting. But it's good to see how Fonga's stepping up and making plays. I don't think it's a huge shock. These guys are going to come on more and more as we get into training camp. I think what we expect from these guys is growth, and then next year, let's see what they can do. See if they can step up and be starters, or if they're not up to the task.
No, yeah, that's kind of what needs to happen. And Dave, that's a great point there. You talked about Hufanga was Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year, but we talked about that a little bit during our draft stuff. Is guys like that, especially Pac-12 players, just don't get a lot of love sometimes coming out of pre-draft.
True.
And so for everyone else's issues and struggles with it is the 49ers gain. So we'll take it every day.
Well, you also don't know how somebody's going to translate to the NFL.
That too.
There's difference, right? The speed the game is faster. The speed of the game is faster. So in college, a 4.6 or 4.7 might get it done from your position. And then you get into the NFL and you're a step slow and you can't get there and you don't have the right angles because it's just not working out. So it does all depend on what scheme you're going to and how overall your game translates to the NFL. That's why you see great college players, then they're never able to make it in the NFL. It happens sometimes. That's why you have 7 rounds and most of these guys aren't going to pan out. And every once in a while you get a George Kittle or you get a Fred Warner, but most of the time you get somebody else that doesn't pan out.
True. And we had a couple comments on the cap. Jag loves the cap. The hat game is on point from Ant. If this is your first time here on the pod, if this is the first time here on the live stream, first and foremost, Ant's hat game is always on point. It is fire. It is lit.
Thank you.
100% of the time. And then you may notice some sweet shirts that are on. There's some very nice shirts. The TCC shirt, the 40 freaking Niner shirt. That's all at our merch shop. The link is pinned right there. It's the pinned comment in the chat. It's also in the description section. You can find it, the Cutback store, in the description of the video. Also, you can go to our link tree, very first link. Click on that. That takes you to everything. The merch shop, Twitter account, Facebook, Instagram, everything. Everything that you need 49ers Cutback. You want to go listen to the podcast again a second time on Apple Podcasts? You can do that as well. There's tons of ways for you to interact on this channel, do things on this channel, and support this channel. You can do it at the Cutback store. You can do it with the super chats. You can do it with the like button, subscribe button, the share button. Tons of ways for you to express yourself on this channel. Tons of ways for you to show support. So make sure you're doing that, because now we get into the meat and potatoes.
Oh, so we're going to talk about DJ Jones being a dual threat quarterback.
Totally that. You got it. You hit it out of the park.
Caleb brought it up in chat, and I don't know if you saw the video of this.
I didn't get to watch the whole video. I saw a clip.
Okay. First off, big man's nimble. All right, he can move around. But you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of, back when you're coaching high school and you got the one coach that thinks he's still a quarterback and he gets out there and he's a big guy and he runs around a little bit and he throws it. Oh, I would have made that play. That's what it looked like to me. But I love DJ Jones doing this.
I'm going to have to try and pull this up and watch this so you guys get a live reaction of me reacting to it. Look, DJ Jones, we all knew he was a freak athlete.
Yeah.
It's nice throwing the football too. That's quarterback 3 right there.
It is.
All the more reason. Caleb, you brought it up. Sudfeld's gone then.
Oh.
Don't need him.
Yeah, he's going to be QB3, emergency quarterback.
Yeah, dual threat DJ. Dual threat DJ.
I like it.
DT DJ.
Yeah.
All day long, QB3. But no, the actual meat and potatoes, QB Watch 2021, day 8 of the 49ers Cutback training camp breakdown.
Yeah.
Look, a lot of things happened today. Some issues offensively, some fumbles. Trey Lance had some issues with the ball. Trey Sermon had some issues with the ball. Listen, that's not great, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't run over to the Cutback store and still get your training camp 2021 t-shirts. You should definitely do that. One day doesn't take away from the magic of that shirt, so make sure you go cop those before they have a second bad day together collectively, which is never going to happen again. You can put that, you can't take that to the bank. They could very well. They're human. They can make mistakes. But they had some problems. Read option stuff provided a little bit of issues. I did laugh a little bit when they were talking to the reporters. The reporters asked the question about, is it a communication issue or is this just an issue? And Shanahan's like, well, they're not talking to each other. when they're doing it.
Yeah.
It's a give and a take situation, right? It's a give and a take sort of feel. Read options are always this way, especially when you have a quarterback and a running back who are playing together for the first time. You don't know how assertive and aggressive the running back is once he's going into the read option and selling. Because, again, you don't know on any given read option play whether or not you're giving or keeping. You can try and guess pre-snap all you want, but you're not going to know until your read key makes a choice, going after the football, the running back, or sticking and sitting on the quarterback. So it can just be a little bit of a feeling out process. I'm not worried about this.
Yeah.
I'll be worried about this if we're, 2 days away from the regular season and they're still having lots of fumbling issues. That's when it's a concern. This, for me, it's not a nothing burger. It's okay, yeah, this is the adversity portion. You two have to get familiar with each other. You two have to get comfortable with each other. You two need to know, at a certain point in time as a quarterback, as you're putting the ball through in space, you have to pull. Some quarterbacks will pull really late. If a running back's not aware of that, at a certain point, the running back gets 2 or 3 steps in and is like, okay, this is mine, and he's just going to go no matter what you try and do. So just them understanding what does a quarterback like to do, how long will he hold that read for before he gives, and when he does pull, like how late can it be? Them feeling that out and understanding and learning that about each other will solve that problem, but that takes reps.
You want this to happen in practice. This
Accurate.
is where you want it to happen. Mistakes happen in practice. That's good because then you can fix it. You can highlight it. You can work on it. But they got to get chemistry. They got to be able to work together. They got to get that rhythm. They got to get that timing. All that goes into it. And a lot of people, I don't know if they understand how the read option works, but both people are trying to take that ball. The quarterback is keeping the ball, and the running back is taking it. It's not like one guy is just has it sitting there. That running back will try to take the ball. That's his job. It's the quarterback's job to yank it out and take off. Accurate. He has to have a secure hold on it. So there's a lot that goes into it. The running back is not looking at the ball. He's not looking at the quarterback. He's looking at the line of scrimmage, trying to find his hole, find his read. The quarterback is looking at usually an edge rusher or a linebacker coming off the edge that he's reading, and he's looking, and that's where his eyes are the whole time. There's no focus on the ball at all. It's all just going off of, muscle memory and just doing this all the time, reps, and that's what you're looking for. And once that defensive end or outside linebacker makes a read, whether that is coming down the line of scrimmage towards the running back, they'll pull. If he's coming upfield, he'll give. There's a lot that goes into it. And the running back has a lot to think about. If the hole is there, he's got to go upfield, get vertical. If it's not, he's got to press to the line of scrimmage and jump cut and get to that, that cutback lane. So there's a lot that goes into these plays. So having fumbles in camp is nothing crazy. I think this is what you expect, especially since we're only a day 8. So they had OTAs and then this, and we really have only seen a little bit of read option. So I'm not too surprised if we get into the late, parts of training camp and we're still doing this, or week 1 of practice and they're still doing this, then I'll be concerned.
Accurate indeed. It looked like Trey was struggling a little bit with some other stuff today too, but this was the first day that the defense kind of mixed things up, and we had talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
Shell coverages, blitz packages, stunts, things of that nature. Once they start mixing those things in a little more frequently, it's really going to start to test and press Trey a little bit in terms of his understanding, his ability to read, his ability to pick up. And not just pick up what's happening around him, but pick up on the speed at which it's happening, because the speed at which it's going to happen is going to drastically change between your first team and your second team. And when you have when your D line is as wounded as it was today, you're going to get a lot of looks with different guys and different pairings. So he got a few more of the first team guys probably in his face doing stuff today and pressing up against him, whether he had the first team O-line or not. Yeah. And so, these are the types of things that we expect. I think both of you and I will both agree on this. The fact that it took 8 days for Trey Lance to have a normal human day at the quarterback position and not one of these blow up, he's looking like the man days. I love that. It makes me feel really, really good about where this guy is at and where this kid's at, and about how quickly he's picking things up. He's going to have days like this, folks. That's just the nature of being a rookie in the NFL. You're going to have days where you get punched in the mouth. I want those days, because I want to see how you respond.
Well, even in punch in the mouth, he still had a good day.
Yep.
It wasn't a bad day.
No,
by any
not
means.
a bad day.
But one thing is, I think if you were going to circle a day where Trey could possibly have some struggles, day 8 would have been it. Day 7 finished install. Day 8 is when things are a little bit different because they're not working off a script now. So Kyle Shanahan normally gave these quarterbacks a script. They knew every single play that they were going to have coming in. He could learn it. Now it's going off down and distance. It's going off moving the ball and where it's going to, what is happening with the actual plays ahead of it. Moving the ball makes a big difference on what play is called. So now he's adjusting to a different play call each time. He doesn't know what's coming up next. That's a big difference. And just another short little hiccup in his process of becoming eventually a starting quarterback. He's got to do this. All these things are going to happen. You add in the fact that Jake Brendel is a center for him, and he wasn't doing a good job of picking up blitzes. You're getting guys getting in there. They weren't able to run the ball very well. So Trey had a lot of things that weren't working out for him. Some of them not his fault. And so when you add all that together, it makes it a little rough. It's tough to play NFL football, and he's still learning, and that's why you don't want to go from 0 to 100. You want these guys to be able to learn, and you want them to be able to process and be able to learn what is going on in the defensive side of the ball. And once they do, it'll make good plays. But I am happy to see Trey Lance's progress so far. I am not worried about this at all. I didn't get over the top about Jimmy Garoppolo throwing interceptions. I'm not over the top about Trey Lance having a minor struggle in camp. This is all to be expected. And today, if I was going to mark one day where it was going to happen, this would have been the first one it was.
That's fair. And you know what? Again, even at that, like you had already talked about, Ant, really wasn't all that bad of a day. It was a human day. It was a normal practice. It wasn't right. What he had already put together in terms of the incredible days, the incredible throws, the crazy amount of touchdowns. All of those things didn't all happen at once, and he had some struggles. So it's a wash for me. Right. It's a nothing day. It's okay, this wasn't your best day. Let's see what tomorrow looks like. I'm actually now even more excited for tomorrow because he's coming off of this practice today. See how he bounces back. See how excited he is. See the energy that he has tomorrow, and just see if that killer instinct is there. Right. That when he gets an opportunity to try and make a play, does he pull back a little bit on the reins and just do the right, like do the safe thing, or does he still want to take those kill shots and go downfield and make some tough passes?
He went kill shot today. Travis Benjamin over the top, 50-yard play. That is also a good sign. Seeing Travis Benjamin get behind 2 defenders, go up and make a play. So anyone that thought he was a complete wash, he's not. He's here to compete and he's here to make plays.
Gary's also here to return kicks, possibly.
Maybe, but it's good to see. It's good to see Trey Lance have adversity sometimes, so that way he can overcome adversity, and he will. I have no doubt that this guy's going to do it, and I have no doubt that we have a good situation at quarterback this year. And
talking about the quarterback situation, right? Great segue, Ant. Wonderful segue. Jimmy Garoppolo pulled on read options today, folks, and got around the corner. So everyone who's been saying Jimmy's got no speed, that's why he's been running those wind sprints after practice, folks. They're paying off. This man can get around the corner in the right situations, which is fine. I like seeing them run stuff with Jimmy. I like seeing Jimmy keep on those read options. It also demonstrates that those plays with Jimmy now, they can be called. You're going to try not to call them because you don't want to put him in situations to take shots, but you can call them. He can pull, keep the ball, get around the edge, get a few yards, and extend drives in situations. A healthy Jimmy Garoppolo and a confident Jimmy Garoppolo is going to make plays. We've seen him make crazy plays, crazy runs, step up in the pocket, take off, get 8, 9, 10 yards, dive and throw himself out there and take a shot to extend drives. He's done it in the past. This guy, when he's confident and healthy, he's willing to put it all on the line for this team. That's why I like this guy so much. That's why he's got a stranglehold on this job right now. I think that's why this team is so ingrained with Jimmy and why they like him so much. And it's going to be a great thing for Trey to learn from is how selfless this guy is. He puts this team first day in and day out. I can't think of a better situation for Trey Lance than to be in a room with a guy like Jimmy who understands this offense, being able to learn from him day in and day out. Trey is already a smart guy. He's already a good guy. He's already a team-first, selfless guy. And now he gets the professional experience and getting to be molded by a professional quarterback who's had to go through the ringer of sitting behind the GOAT and Tom Brady for all of those years. Trey gets to now pick his brain a little bit in that situation, and Jimmy is not going to hold that stuff back. He's going to share that with Trey. This quarterback room is just incredible right now. I as a 49er fan, to think, that we went from Jimmy Garoppolo on potentially his last legs, Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard, to this now, a fired Jimmy Garoppolo, fired up, healthy, motivated, confident, swaggy, and Trey Lance, who's got all the physical tools, the confidence is there, the bravado is there, everything. He's the full package, right? He's a full package, and on the crazy days, right, He's Patrick Mahomes 2.0 is what everyone keeps saying. This is our quarterback room now.
Yeah.
Our quarterback room is these two guys who are playing the best football that they've played so far, and it's only going to get better.
It's nice to see Jimmy just out there playing hard. He's always an effort guy. I mean, He really does. He always gives for his teammates. That's 100%. You're accurate on that. You're definitely not wrong. The one thing I will say is we're not going to be counting on Jimmy Garoppolo to run the football. If you can have a threat of Jimmy Garoppolo running the ball once or twice here and there every once in a while, at least they have to respect it. And if they don't, he can take off around the outside. But don't expect that to be a staple of the offense with Jimmy Garoppolo. What you can expect is the things that Jimmy has been doing in practice. He's been pretty consistent, hitting those intermediate routes over the middle, being successful in that area, and then getting the ball out quickly, a quick release. Also getting the ball downfield a little bit more than he has been. So those are things that we can expect from Jimmy Garoppolo, and everything else, we'll see what happens. But the one thing that Shanahan alluded to this time and made perfectly clear about these two quarterbacks is they're both going to be playing this year. So what we've been talking about for months is that Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance were going to have playing time together, and now we see it. He said, you talked about, every receiver is expected to play, and he said, I know it's different because it's a quarterback position, but both quarterbacks are going to expect to play. So expect to see sometimes where Jimmy Garoppolo comes off the field, Trey Lance goes on, and they do some different packages and things with him. So, yes, this is coming, this is happening, and it's going to be fun.
There's going to be packages with Trey Lance, folks, like we talked about in one of our videos.
Yep.
It's Jimmy and Trey.
It's Jimmy and Trey.
It's not going to be a competition. Kyle keeps kiboshing the word competition when regarding to this quarterback room for this specific reason. They're going to use Jimmy in the situations they need to use Jimmy. They're going to use Trey in the situations they need to use Trey. And everyone is going to have to prepare for two quarterbacks, two situations, two packages, different ways to use the team, different ways to use players. And if you're not prepared for those things, then you're going to be in trouble.
Yep.
Just the reality of the situation.
Well, it never made sense to not use the skill set of these guys, right? If you have somebody with the skill set of Trey Lance, why wouldn't you use him, even if it was in a limited capacity? Just having defenses have to prepare for him, having defensive coordinators have to prepare for him. That means it eats up time to prepare for other things. And now you're going to have to focus time not just on what they can do with Trey Lance, but what they can do with Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and Jalen Hurd and George Kittle and Kyle Juszczyk. Used to be able to focus. Where's Kyle Juszczyk? That's going to take me to the play. Maybe not this year. You never know what to get, what to expect. This is what's going to be causing problems for everyone else. And that's what's exciting about this offense. And Trey Lance does open an extra added element to this team. And both these guys together, I think, is a better situation than either one this year. Eventually, Trey will give us the best situation overall by himself. But right now, a Jimmy and Trey together is the best possible quarterback for the 49ers.
Agreed with you there. You're going to take the things they both do and find a way to get them on the field and do the most with it.
Yeah.
And speaking of, you talked about Deebo Samuel and different things they can do. They ran some triple option today. You know how big of a fan I am of the triple option, Ant. So running some triple option look with Deebo Samuel. They already ran read option with him earlier in the week as well. So, again, all the things that we had talked about where you could go 4 or 5 wide receiver sets. You could motion someone into the backfield like a Deebo, an Ayuk, Jalen Hurd. Doesn't matter who, doesn't matter what. You can motion all of these guys in and have them execute these same sorts of things. And teams can go into nickel packages. And again, be in a nickel package, 4 or 5 wide receivers spread out. And all of a sudden, you bring one of them in, you do a running play, you're outmatched. They don't have the numbers in the box. And they're just sitting there going, what the heck are we supposed to do?
Yeah, and thank you, Jag, for the super chat. He said it's just a great feeling that our quarterback room is in a fantastic position. I don't think we could agree more. We're feeling the same as Jag is. Mm-hmm. As far as that, the triple option, I had actually seen a tweet from Jason Aponte earlier in the week where he said Deebo Samuel is running read option with Trey Lance. I wasn't going to put it out there. To be honest, I didn't want to put it out there because I don't like giving away any sort of secrets that these guys are working on. But today the KMBR and some of them were talking about the triple option, so I figured it's out there in the ether. We might as well talk about it now. So they're planning some cool stuff that they're going to be able to do. Anytime someone goes in motion, anytime someone ghosts around the quarterback, you have to be afraid. So you have to be able to, like we said before, they have to be able to guard every inch of grass. And now if you get a guy coming this way in front of you and a receiver coming that way, you have to prepare for an option going that way, but also a read play going this way. So there's so much that goes into it. they could give it, and they could run different stuff with the wide receiver this way. So it is going to be interesting to watch what they come up with. They're only hampered by their own creativity. Whatever they can come up with, they can do. So these guys are going to come up with some very cool stuff, and they have all the pieces and tools to be able to run whatever they want now. They have all the tools in the toolbox. If you need Jimmy Garoppolo to do it, he can do it. If you need Trey Lance to do it, he can do it. Jalen Hurd, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. It is one of the most eclectic groups of people as far as skill positions that you will see in this league. And it's going to be fun to watch because I don't think you know what to expect from play to play, from game to game, from drive to drive, and that's going to frustrate defenses. Just when you think you've got a idea of what they're going to do, they're going to flip the script on you, and it's going to be a bad play for you.
Word of the day, folks. Word of the day. That was impressive.
Thank you.
I love the vocabulistics on this man. Look, I think the creativity is, at times I think 49ers fans forget the amount of creativity that Kyle Shanahan has, and that when you have pieces that can kind of do it all, it really just makes you so hard to predict, understand, prepare for. Don't forget, folks, the reverse to George Kittle that turned into an option with Kyle Juszczyk. Oh, excuse me, it was a counter to Kyle Juszczyk, correct? And then he pitched the ball out to Raheem Mostert.
It was a quick pitch, and then he optioned,
Just crazy levels of creativity. That's something that I would draw up on a napkin and then never would have
ran it.
I know you have, because you ran. I remember that we put it. What was the formation called?
Well, I've ran one out of I before.
Was it the staggered I?
No, I just ran I.
Oh my goodness gracious!
And we just pitched it and then option pitched it out of that.
So
I have seen it before, but never in the NFL before that.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And so it's just like, this is the kind of stuff that Kyle schemes up.
Yeah.
These are the kind of ways that Kyle thinks about offense. He's got the pieces to do it all. Like, he's got the pieces to be as creative as he want, take as many risks as he want, and they're all talented and athletic enough to be able to execute it, which is the scary part. And that's without Jalen Hurd ever having stepped on the field so far. Once you add him in as well with this team and what this team can already do, you're going to add in Trey Lance. You're going to add Trey Sermon, potentially adding in a guy like Wayne Gallman as well. There's too many pieces. There's too many pieces for teams to account for. So it's only a matter of time before this offense blows up completely and is putting up those godly Atlanta Falcons numbers when Shanahan was there. That's coming this year.
Well, and that's why when people ask all the time about trading Jimmy Garoppolo, right? That's one of the big topics of conversation. If Trey is ready, you have to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. And my argument is always, but look at all the other pieces that you have. Imagine if for some reason you lost a quarterback. That is the one linchpin that you have to have. So if you have two of them, you lock and hold on to those guys for this year. That way you can make sure that your team is set and ready to go, that you can use all these skill players the way you need to. Last year proved when you didn't have a good quarterback, right, you were in trouble. And so now they have two very good quarterbacks. Why is it that we would not keep both of them and put yourself in a very good situation in case one of them is hurt, that you can continue to push for a chance to win the Super Bowl? One guy has proven that he can get to the Super Bowl. The other guy is proving right now that he is going to be capable of that in the future. And who knows when that is, because he's learning so fast and developing so fast. So you have two guys that you feel potentially could get you over that hump. Why would you move one of them right now? It's like you have an opportunity to win a championship. That's what you need to do. I understand all the hope for next year. We need that extra salary cap, but you don't play for next year. You play for right now. And everyone that's on this football team right now, the 2021 roster, they're playing for right now. They're not playing for next year. And that is something I think that fans, we like to look into the future, right? We like to talk about what could happen in the future. Players like to talk about what's going to happen right now and what's going on right now, because each season is kind of its own career as far as the way teams are constituted.
The teams that have players playing for the future are teams that are tanking and rebuilding. If you're a rebuilding team, then you are playing for your future sometimes as a player, because if you're on a contract, you're trying to get signed potentially by another team or just keep your job going into the next year, because if a team's rebuilding, you may not be a part of the future plans. That's not happening here.
Yeah.
That's not what this team is. It doesn't make any sense to pull the trigger and go all the way fully with Trey Lance and part with Jimmy when you can keep both, utilize both, and find a way to win right now and preserve Trey for the future as well. You don't have to put him out there. You don't have to expose him and put him in situations he's not ready for. You can put him in when he's comfortable. You can put him in when he's ready. You can put him in when the situation dictates or the advantage is on the field for you to capitalize on. You get to pick and turn. You get to set the parameters for his opportunity to play. You get to set the parameters for how the offense operates. You get to set the parameters in terms of how he operates. And when you're getting to dictate all of those things, it's going to mean that most of the time when he's on the field, as long as he understands what's going on, right, he's going to have success. And the more success he has, the more confident he is. The more confident he is going into the future, the better this football team is going to be when he takes over day one, full-time starter, his team, his job, his offense. That's what you want. That's what you should want as a 49ers fan, right? Finding a way to make the best of what you have, all the pieces you have right now, and set yourself up for years of success in the future. That's what this front office has done. That is what Kyle Shanahan's the plan is in his mind. We're going to be able to compete and contend for a Super Bowl right now with the current pieces we have, even if we don't ever play Trey Lance, right? Jimmy stays healthy, we can contend. We already know that. We can get there. We already know that. But now you add Trey Lance into the mix. You add in the new draft picks that we brought in, right? The young guys that we've added into place. You add health of Jalen Hurd. Defensively, Jason Verrett coming in, right? Out of seemingly for most people out of nowhere. For us, it was always a matter of if Jason Verrett's healthy, he can be elite.
Yeah.
Right? The linebacking core, every day improving. The D-line, better than it's ever been. This team is ready. This team can get it done. This team can do it. Just don't screw with the chemistry. Don't screw with the chemistry, and this team is going to find a way to get us to a Super Bowl and get us number 6.
I think no matter what Kyle Shanahan ends up deciding at who starts at quarterback, this team is going to be okay.
Agreed.
The way that they're built, they have complete faith in him. So they won't waver in their support of what Kyle Shanahan ultimately decides. But I think it is a nice glimpse into the future that Kyle Shanahan is looking to run, a dual quarterback scheme, this year and use both of them as weapons. The other thing is just the fact that we've been asking for Trey Lance to be able to run first team reps because we want to see how he responds to playing this first team defense. Go against Emmanuel Mosley and Jason Verrett on a consistent basis and Fred Warner and the chess match that will ensue. And we're going to get that. He kind of alluded to that. So this is going to be exciting to watch, and it's going to be exciting training camp moving forward. We're only, just over a week away from our first preseason game where we'll get to see Trey Lance, playing another team. That'll be exciting to watch, and that'll be fun to watch. And we'll get a glimpse of how these rookies are really developing and looking in a different type of way. And that's what's exciting about this team.
No, it's very exciting about this team. I do have to say one thing. Marketing Pro made actually one good comment there in chat, and that last year it was all Goof's fault. You were right. It was totally Jared Goof's fault for the Ram struggles. You're correct. Jared Goof.
Jared Goof.
Jared Goof.
So it was all his fault.
All his fault is what he says. We think the Gaff man made some obvious mistakes and gaffes, but I just liked the Goof nickname.
Yeah,
it was nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Congratulations.
Whatever.
One good comment in the hundreds of stupid stuff that's been said in there. But hey, to each their own.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just really excited for football being back. Was really upset because I was out celebrating with family. We had my cousin back in town from the military, and he's just started. He picked his plane. He's in the Navy. He's going to be flying, things of that nature. So he's going to be going to do that and do his 2-year training. So I got to see him a little bit, which was great. But I wanted to watch a little bit of the Hall of Fame game as a fantasy guy. Didn't get to watch any of it, but I did get to see a sweet Chase Claypool catch down the sideline. And you were right on with this guy. You're going to be right on with Jalen Hurd as well. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing Jalen Hurd. But it was cool to see Chase Claypool continuing his development as an NFL receiver.
Let's hope I'm as right about Jalen Hurd as I was about Chase Claypool.
If you were as right about Jalen Hurd as Chase Claypool, dude, this team is about to take the frick off.
Yeah, I did watch a little bit of that game. It was kind of hard to watch because it's the Cowboys. It kind of reminds me of Thanksgiving where the Cowboys are playing, and anytime that is happening, I'm like, okay, what else can I find to do? But I did watch a little bit of it. Ben Roethlisberger chasing the football, that was funny. Overall, it was a very sloppy game.
Yes.
I think that's what can be expected. I think if the Niners were going to play this soon, that's what I would expect as well from them. So football is back. Kind of, because that wasn't the great performance, but we kind of know that from the Hall of Fame game. That's what you expect.
You expect sloppiness and special teams touchdowns, in the Hall of Fame game.
Who is it that which Steelers receiver requested a trade afterwards? Did you see that?
Ooh, I did not see that.
Was it Washington?
Was it Washington?
Washington,
oh,
yeah.
My Lord,
he requested a trade after that. He hasn't liked the way he was used last year, didn't like how he was used in training camp or the preseason, and requested a trade. I believe it was reported by either Schefter or Rappaport.
Yeah, James Washington, former 2018 second-round pick, approached the Steelers and requested a trade based on his limited playing time last season and so far in the preseason. Based on preseason playing time is interesting.
He just must not like it.
He must be very upset with what's going on there.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I personally thought he was utilized too much last year because I didn't see Chase Claypool in certain situations where I expected Chase Claypool on the field for the Steelers last year, just based on how they used him. They used him in the run game.
Right.
They used him like as a power slot. They flexed him out wide, had him go one-on-one, and then there were situations in short yardage where Claypool just wasn't on the field to be utilized, and yet I saw guys like Washington out there and was just like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Get your dynamic dude that can do a little bit of everything out there, because even if you just have him out there as a decoy, there were games last year where that's all they did. They ran Chase Claypool out there, played him 50% of snaps, and used him as a decoy for the entirety of the game, and it helped open up that offense. And then in short situations, they wouldn't utilize him. I'm like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah, I brought it up because I was wondering if you thought that Washington was a possibility trade target for the 49ers, or are the 49ers set at this wide receiver position?
They're never set, right? I don't believe that they're not set. I just don't know what you can give up. I think it would take a 3 to get this guy, and I don't know if I'd be willing to give up a 3 with what we potentially have here, especially since we haven't played a freaking game yet. We haven't played a preseason game. If we played a preseason game and none of these wideouts could get open in the preseason game, and we just couldn't complete a pass, and it was all just banana town bonkers and everything looked ugly, then I'd be like, you know what, maybe giving up that 3rd round pick to get a guy like Washington who's got some speed and has shown he can get some separation and catch contested balls, maybe that's not a bad idea. We haven't even played a game yet.
Yeah.
If the option is there, they should obviously look into it, because it just makes, again, another weapon, another guy. This guy would be great in the slot in the system, and we all know how Kyle Shanahan is with slot speedy guys, and he can scheme them open for days. But my question would just be, what does it cost? Because I think it would cost about a 1/3. That just feels like a lot without us knowing basically what else we have. We haven't even seen him play yet.
I think you're on the right track, because when I was thinking about this possibility, it was maybe if this was the trade deadline and we knew we were a wide receiver away, kind of like the Emmanuel Sanders situation.
Accurate.
We could look, to reach out and try to pick him up. But right now, I definitely wouldn't do it because number one, I don't want to give up any more draft capital to what we've already given up. And I just want this guy to, stick with the Steelers. Just stick it out, man. You haven't done anything yet. I see Jason Ellsworth gave a super chat, so thank you, Jason. We really appreciate it.
Always.
But I mean, overall, I just thought I'd bring it up because it kind of got sent to me as a, hey, is this a 49ers option? And I didn't think so, but I wanted to get your kind of thought process on it, see where you were sitting. And I think we're kind of on the same page.
No, we definitely are on the same page there. And I think, there's certain names at the wide receiver position that if a trade situation came up for, right, I would want the Niners to jump at it. There's a few names that I have, and I won't say them because I'll save them for potential fantasy football episodes we have coming up here on the channel. But this isn't one of them. This isn't one of the names that jumps off the page as like, oh man, we need to, like, this is considered, go do it, this makes sense. This is one of those that's like, I would rather us wait out and see what we have first before we make any sort of decision or any sort of, jump to any conclusions about the wide receiver room. People have been jumping to conclusions about the cornerback room.
Right.
And then Aubrey Thomas puts a few days together, and now it's the inverse is now occurring, and people are basically flip-flopping on everything that they said before because a guy puts together 3 good days in the room. I want to see good games on the field. I don't want to see good days at practice. Good days at practice makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And it gives you an idea of what you should be able to see in a game, but you don't know what you're going to see until they actually get out there. The lights are on, cameras on, the opposing person lining up on the opposite side of you wants to put you into the ground and wants to bury you because they want to make a roster, right? They want to make their roster.
Yeah.
When you got everything at stake, that's when you're going to get a better idea of what's going on.
You're right. And when you're dealing with training camp, there's kind of like ups and downs, right? Your smirk lets you know that You saw the same thing I did. There's ups and downs from training camp, and I think sometimes we get caught in those, right? Because the people that are talking about practice are breaking down each practice, in its own entirety. And so what happens is a lot of times we're going up and down with these people as they tell you how somebody did at practice, and that's not a good way to look at how overall somebody's doing in practice. It's always going to adjust. It can't be a steady climb. There's always going to be ups and downs. What you're looking for is more consistency each time, but decent to good days in practice lead to good play on the field eventually in games, where that's where you want it. But you don't know where these guys are working on, the things that they're looking at, what coverages they're in. There's so much that goes into it that if you had a broader spectrum of what you were expecting, like when we go tomorrow and I'm looking at a play, one of the first things I want to look at is I want to see, before the play happens, number one, what formation the offense is in, what defensive the formation is, they are in. I want to try to see what coverage they're running as the play develops, and then determine if the quarterback made the right read on, where he went with the football. There's so much that goes into it, and a lot of times we don't get to hear that. We don't get to see that context. So getting out there and being able to see it, and that's the thing about games. A lot of times you can see it. The commentators usually do a good job of telling you, this is how they defeated the cover two, or this is what they did. They took this look. So I'm excited to see that because we don't get that context out of practice.
No, and when you get people talking about practice and not really showing a lot of clips and things of that nature, it's really, really hard, especially when they're just saying, well, on this play, this happened, this guy made this catch, right? This ball got thrown here, and it was a great pass. And then I do see some clips from situations where someone describes the play and how great it was, and then I watch the clip back, and I'm like, it was a good play, but, it didn't look the way you described it. You made it to be A, and I saw C. I'm seeing this. So I think that's the big thing for both of us. I think that's what we're most excited about, is being able to go in tomorrow and be able to watch it in its full context. From start to finish, watching it unfold, watching it kind of play out in front of us, and then be able to talk about those things, because a lot of people, and there's a lot of new subs this week. It's been great. A lot of new members of the Cutback crew joining and becoming a part of this community. We love having all the new people on, but this is the first time that they're going to be able to watch a breakdown of us at training camp,
right?
And for us to be able to give you context. And a lot of those people we're talking about, they liked the logical perspective that we bring. They like the positivity and all those things. And welcome to the 49ers Cutback. That's what you're going to get here. You're not going to get the over-the-top stuff. We will occasionally go over the top, but for the most part, we're going to rationalize everything out and try and make everything logically connect, because as 49ers fans, that's what gives you the best insight into this team, is having the information that connects and flows from point A to point B in a singular line that makes sense, rather than jumping into a black hole void, disappearing into thin air, and then popping up on the other side and being like, by the way, we're here now. This is how we got here. And it's like, wait, what? How? How does that even make sense?
Yeah, I look at it from a coaching perspective as well. So I try to never get too high or get too low, because if you were a play caller, and I know you were, if you get high or you get too low, you can let that affect your calling. So you have to stay straight right down the middle, and that's how I try to do it, even keel the whole time. So when I'm evaluating players, I might get excited about a certain play, but I want to bring it back down to neutral. If you don't, you let yourself build something up to what it's not. You can do over the top, you can sensationalize something, and that's not what I'm trying to do. I know that's not what you try to do.
Trying to.
Yeah, Alex is a little bit more emotional than I do about things.
And you've seen me coach. You were with me when I first started football, right? Yeah. When I first started as an O coordinator, and you would see when we make the big plays, the energy and everything else I had, and then on the mic be like, hey, settle down, guy. It was just a 30-yard play. We still got to punch. You still got to punch this in the end zone. It's like, okay, that's right. It was a big play, but yeah, you're right. We got to finish the drive first. But that was my playing day stuff coming up, and that's that competitive edge and things of that nature, and being so fresh off of having just played football in high school, and so having to adjust and figure that out. But the same thing happens in basketball, and you've seen it with me on the sidelines and when I coach basketball, the energy that I have. But the energy, I've done a much better job now in my 30s of being able to have that energy to kind of get me up, and that energy helps me to focus in. So I'm able to elevate the guys around me, get their energy up, but then also stay focused on the task at hand.
Right.
And I feel like at times I've done a decent job of bringing that to the podcast. There's times where it obviously goes over and I got to get reeled back in, but that's what you're here for.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to keep the steady hand of calmness. Right. If I get over the top, then we know something's wrong.
If Ant goes over the top, the podcast goes off the rails.
Yeah, it can happen. I mean, there was a few times last year where it got close.
Real close.
Some of the Mullen stuff last year was just frustrating to watch. Luckily, we recorded like an hour after game, so I had opportunity to calm down and relax. Because there was a few times I was like, what is this guy doing? It was just not good. So
no.
I'm looking forward to more times where that doesn't happen, right? Less times of the what the heck just happened plays and more of the great plays. But that's what we want to try to do, right, is bring context to this. I've seen some good reporting from camp. I will throw that out there. Some guys have been doing really good, and they've been bringing it. And then, and then other people like to do it a different way. Like I told you, both ways are fine. Both ways are acceptable. It's whatever people like to hear. That's not how I like it. That's not what I like to watch. That's not what I like to hear. And I know there's a lot of people that want to hear that added context as well.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed RSF 49ers and what they've been doing from training camp, and just the stuff that they've been putting out. They do have their moments where they go over the top, but most of the time it's in fun. It's in good fun. And so it's a nice little lighthearted way to kind of look at things that are going on with the team and just be excited about it. And so I've watched a lot of different perspectives. I think the one thing that I've taken away from this training camp, and I've seen a lot more 49ers fans recently over the last few days really talking about this, is just how many people that are there currently have differing viewpoints of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have that going on, one of a few things is happening. Either A, you have people who are taking something and blowing it out of proportion, out of context, sensationalizing, right. Or B, they possibly don't understand football. It's one of those two things. Now,
or a little of both.
It could be a little of both of those things mixed in as well. The only other additional option is C, which is that someone's right. But only one person can be right in regards to how they're covering or breaking down the team. And because everything is so wildly different and drastic, for us, it's really been just to sort through the information. What doesn't seem sensationalized? What can we corroborate based on, right, the press conferences, the interviews, the things that the coaches and the players are talking about themselves?
Yeah.
And then what information do the 49ers themselves put out? What kind of videos do they put out? What highlights do they put out? All of those things kind of allow us to look at what's being reported, look at what's being put out, like informationally wise, and then be able to go, okay, these things make sense based on what we've heard from 8 different people and what we've seen on video or heard from an interview. Those type of things make sense. It's going to be nice tomorrow to go see it and not have to play a guessing game about what's happening. Just us having a good grasp of knowing this is what happened, this is what this means, this is what we took away from it.
Yes, I spend time scouring to find video that correlates with interviews, that correlates with information and stats, to try to paint the best picture I possibly can without being there. The video is the most helpful.
Always.
Because then I can form my own opinion, but that's why I can't wait to get in person, because then I can break it down and really see what's going on. A lot of people have never get to watch with me, watch a game and just see how I handle it. I know you've been there with me a bunch of times, and just the way that I process and you process it and we talk about it.
I've learned a lot. A lot of my film breakdown I got from Collins and from Sip Sanchez and from Dave Zion when I was in high school, but that was like basic film watching and basic film study. A lot of my in-depth analysis came from you.
Yeah, and there's a feel. There's a feel to what you're seeing in person. Accurate. You can feel things. One of my favorite things to do is predict what's going to happen before it happens. It doesn't always happen, but there is feelings that happen that way. And that's one thing I'm excited about is getting there and getting a feel for what they're doing. I just want to sit in it and just really just break it all down and just see what they got going on and how they're working together. Because if we see everything that everyone's been talking about and everyone's been spot on, then I will come on here and tell everyone, hey, you know what? Everything they're saying is spot on. But if it's not, I'm going to come on here and tell you everything is not spot on what they're saying, and this is how I see it. And I know you will do the same thing. So that's the one thing people can always expect from us, is we're going to tell them the truth about what we see. And that's important, whether it's good for us or bad for us. That doesn't matter, because it's all about covering the team and making sure everyone else gets to hear exactly what we see and what we think that correlates with what's being said. And that's why I'm so excited to get out there. I love football, and this is kind of my favorite thing to do. So
and we didn't get any of this last year. We didn't get an opportunity to do this last year. There wasn't an opportunity to go see this team and get an idea of where this team was, what they were doing. Right?
Yes.
You just had to wait until game started, and then even then you had to sit at home and watch it. Not this year.
No.
Not in 2021. 2021, you don't get to take this from us. We get to go to camp. We get to see it with our own eyeballs, right? Nothing edited, nothing out of context. We get raw footage, we get the raw experience, and then we get to give you the raw breakdown of what this is, what happened, what's going on, and what's next. Because once we're able to kind of get our hands and our eyes and just our brains around what's happening at training camp and what happens in day 9, we're going to have a good idea of the next step. We've been talking about a lot of things with this 49ers team, and, we felt we had a good finger on the pulse of where this team was. And then the first week of training camp came and went, and we felt the same way.
Yep.
Like, we felt like really good about what we've been putting out there about this team, what the direction that this team was taking, the Jimmy and Trey situation that we had going on, that there wasn't a competition. This was, a meshing of the two, molding and taking all of their best attributes to utilize the best for this team. And now we get to go into day 9, take a look at this practice, take a look at what they're doing, what they're installing now, what they're putting in now, what they're learning, what they're preparing for, and give you a good idea of what maybe you can see down the road here, down the future, and coming into that first preseason game. And we're going to have 2 more practices on top of that to watch leading into that first preseason game.
What was cool, too, is I seen the community post where, you were asking what people wanted to see. And people had a lot of different perspectives, things they wanted to see from the wide receivers to the cornerbacks. So, people right now that are in chat, you can ask questions, and also let us know what specifically you want to see us look at tomorrow so we can break it down. Because I am curious, and I read a lot of them, and just to see what people were thinking, what their eyes on. Some people, it's all about the quarterback position. Some people were wide receiver, cornerback. Some people were the line. So I am curious what everyone thinks and what everyone's looking at. Because I think that it's going to be cool to be out there. That feeling is going to be there, and my whole thing is I'm there to work. I'm there to pay attention to what's going on, and I know you are as well. So it's going to be a fun time, but it's also going to be a busy time.
It's a business trip, folks.
It is.
It's a business trip. We're going to have fun with it. Obviously, we're going to enjoy it. I think that's the nicest thing about the podcast and just everything that's gone on with this, Ant, right, is that this is a job.
Yeah.
This is a job.
I'm sorry. The Sudfeld things are getting me.
The Caleb Sudfeld acknowledge. Listen, Marketing Pro, as much as you think you're getting away with anything here, you're really not until you acknowledge Nate Sudfeld.
Yeah.
You're going to have to acknowledge him. If
Acknowledge
you want to
him.
Just acknowledge him.
Yeah.
He is the head of the table now. You will acknowledge him. What do you guys think of Mitchell doing punt returns because of his speed? He isn't a running back 1 anyways from Pinor.
Yeah, Richie Hightower talked about the guys that were going to be taking punts, and he didn't mention Elijah Mitchell initially. He mentioned like 4 or 5 guys. It was like Richie James, Travis Benjamin, Brandon Ayuk, and a couple other guys. And then he did not mention Elijah Mitchell, but it was asked to him by a reporter about Elijah Mitchell and Aubrey Thomas, and he said, oh, yeah, they'll have an opportunity as well. So I don't know if that's an actual opportunity, but yes, you would think with his speed, he would get an opportunity to prove it. Whether that is in year 1, I don't know. That's what Brandon Ayuk kind of talked about a little bit too, that his body wasn't ready, didn't have the stature to be able to handle it in year 1, that he's more capable to do that in year 2. So maybe there is a learning curve where Elijah Mitchell needs to wait until year 2, but to me, he would seem like a good option, but they do have a lot of great options to be the return guy.
They do, and Travis Benjamin's name is being thrown out there and thrown around a lot, and it should be. The speed looks like it's still there. He looks like he's still got it. And if Travis Benjamin still got it, it's going to be really, really hard for anyone to get a grasp of this job. And if that's the case, Richie James is going to be in some big, big, huge trouble. Because Sherfield's playing pretty well right now. Travis Benjamin looks like he's back into Travis Benjamin form, and again, comfortable. I've had this now conversation with multiple different people, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's in person. We talk about Travis Benjamin and bring him up, and someone's like, he hasn't done anything. Ever. And it's like, well, that's not true. That first year in Cleveland with Shanahan was incredible.
Yeah.
We have every year after that. It's like, well, listen, you have a point in the sense of like actual production and numbers. Different system, different coach, different scheme, different expectations, different ways of utilizing. The Chargers saw Travis Benjamin as an over-the-top stretch deep guy, and that's it. They didn't try to utilize him in any other way. Kyle Shanahan utilized him in a variety of ways. He's also the only guy on the roster, and we've brought this up now multiple times, that has more than 1 punt return for a touchdown. I know, it's 4. It's quattro. And it could be more.
It could.
It could very well be more. So I just think Travis Benjamin adding in and being healthy and being able to return punts for this team is going to be, I think that right now that's my A option. Obviously, Elijah Mitchell's got to get touches and got to get opportunities to show what he can do. Brandon Ayuk, it sounds like, wants this job and wants to be the punt returner. So he's going to get his opportunities. I don't think even if Brandon Ayuk wants the job that he's going to get the job, but he is going to get opportunities to make plays as a punt returner.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to get the job or not. I mean, if he gets out there and he impresses to the point where they just can't deny it, I mean, there is something to a guy that can go out there and flip the field, a guy that can go out there and wreak havoc in special teams. It can change games. We've talked about what Ted Ginn did in the past, what John Taylor was able to do. So maybe he does get his opportunity. I don't know. It's going to be a very competitive return situation. I think it's funny that we're talking about so much about return game, but it is a hot topic because Richie James hasn't proven that he can, make a lot of big plays consistently. So they are looking for somebody else. Brandon Ayuk would be the obvious choice. Travis Benjamin would be an obvious choice. I know they even mentioned Mohamed Sanu has been back there, so he has a lot of experience, catching the ball. Somebody that can secure a catch. I got a little ahead of myself there, but we can really count on those guys. So they have a lot of good options. It's nice to have a lot of good options in that part of the game.
Agreed. I agree with you there completely. But do you think? What do you guys think will happen with Jimmy G on this team if you had to bet on it from Pioneer?
If I had to bet on it for this season or in general?
I think he means this season.
I think Jimmy's going to start. I think that Trey Lance is going to play sometimes. I think that's been evident. And then at some point, Trey Lance is going to take over, whether that is this year or the beginning of next year. I think the end of Jimmy Garoppolo is the offseason. Correct. No matter what. I think Trey Lance is taking over for sure next year. So it'll be curious.
2021 is Jimmy's last year in San Francisco. That's kind of my thought process. That's what it's been. It makes the most sense. You can find a way to mix and match both guys, get the most out of Jimmy, get the most out of Trey. Hopefully it helps your team in the best way possible. And if it's not, then Shanahan is going to make a decision one way or the other because they are going to do what's best for this football team in 2021 and the future. That's just the reality of the situation. And then from there, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to go off and have a career and finish off somewhere else other than San Francisco. That's hard to say because I still do have fond memories of Jimmy and everything that he did in 2019. And I feel like it's Alex Smith all over again, but it's not. It's not the same as what happened with Alex Smith. This is a situation where the Alex Smith situation happened by chance due to injury. Jimmy Garoppolo's happened due to injury, but Jimmy Garoppolo's numerous amounts of injuries leading up to the decision to pull the trigger on Trey Lance is what led to this, right? This wasn't 2020. It wasn't just because of 2020. It was a combination of 2020 and 2018 and what had happened in that time frame and that time span, and this team and this coaching staff and this front office going, we know we have a Super Bowl roster, but we don't have behind our quarterback a Super Bowl, like a guy who can lead us to a Super Bowl other than the guy who has currently been the leader. So do we just sit on what we currently have and pray to God that this guy doesn't get hurt, or do we hedge our bets? All right, do we go all in with this group? They went all in. And as a fan, that's what I want. And as a coaching staff, that's what you want. You want your front office to go all in with the roster they gave you that you've already taken to a Super Bowl, right? That's support in your back pocket as well. So the move for Trey Lance makes all the sense in the world. Seeing him out in training camp, it makes sense why Shanahan was so enamored with him, why Lynch wanted to pull the trigger on this guy. It's going to take time for them for it to be fully his team and fully his job. So just enjoy this ride of 2021. You're going to get to see both on the field. And then Jimmy's going to go off and do his thing somewhere else. Trey Lance is going to lead this team into the future for decades, hopefully, to come, right? And this team is going to have hopefully a big, fat, huge, wide open Super Bowl window for them to be able to do a lot of things over the next 5-6 years.
They also knew how good their football team was, and they were still picking 12th. The opportunity to get up that close and be able to get a player that can really take your team to the next level, you had to go ahead and make the move. So that makes sense. I know it's not a popular opinion. I mean, I know a lot of people want Trey Lance to start now.
Correct.
And I understand that. I think you look at the physical gifts and tools, and I mean, you think about what he could do in this offense, and it is exciting and it is something that you want. I just think that when you're just listening and you're kind of reading the tea leaves, this isn't my opinion. This is just what I think is going on. Is they expect Jimmy Garoppolo to start this year off. How Jimmy Garoppolo plays and how much Trey Lance ultimately picks up this offense is going to determine if he takes over in 2022 or if he takes over sometime in 2021. Once this snowball is rolling downhill and it picks up enough steam, it will run Jimmy Garoppolo over. That's just the way it is. Whenever that happens, that's what it is right now. Trey Lance is a snowball. It's going downhill, and Jimmy Garoppolo is running from it. At some point, it's going to catch him and run him over. It's just inevitable, but right now, Jimmy's ahead of that snowball. It ain't by much, but he's ahead of it.
He's ahead of it, and now we get to see how fast Jimmy is. We get to see how fast
we'll see.
He is. Well, hopefully pretty quick. Another great question here from Pino. He had asked, essentially, if that's the case, is this run game going to still be one of the best run games? Basically, he asked, will the run game be number one if Trey Lance isn't the starter?
Yes.
I don't see why it wouldn't.
Well, you're better on the offensive line than you were last year.
Accurate.
You have more weapons on the outside than you had last year.
Accurate.
So all of those things are going to play into it. Plus, you added different running backs. These guys are going to be healthy. That all adds into it. Plus, you sprinkle in the times that it is going to be Trey Lance, and that is going to add to the run game as well. I don't see why these guys can't be a top running team in the league.
We've already seen them be a top 2-3 running team with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback.
Yeah.
Trey Lance would obviously take it over the top and put it at the next level, but they can still be a top 3 run game in this league with Jimmy. Now you're going to have Jimmy and Trey being able to go in and do stuff, right? You're going to be able to pull out Jimmy in situations and put Trey in and get that one-on-one 11-on-11 football that we keep talking about. And it's going to lead to success. It's going to make them harder to predict. And you're going to be able to put Trey Lance on the field and be able to throw and run the football at the same time. A lot of one-on-one matchups, and we've seen the big arm from Trey Lance already. He's already demonstrated some of it in camp. That is a problem for the rest of the league. And again, there's too many weapons for them. You can't stick your best corner or your best safety. You can't stick them on one guy because there's not just one guy on this team. There's options everywhere.
Well, and also, if you put the extra safety in the box, good luck stopping these guys on the outside.
Accurate. Someone's beating you.
You have to worry about Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. That was part of the problem. They weren't all healthy last year, so the box got kind of thrown in together, and you weren't able to do it. So
thank you, Nick Mullins. You son of a gun. Yeah. You freaking son of a gun. Jag with a nice 3-part question.
Okay.
Question 1, Arden Key. Is he going to be a good edge rusher for us?
Yes. He will be a more base down guy. He will play in those obvious downs in a rotation, but he'll be solid for us.
And he seems like he's been having a lot of success so far with this team and this defense, and he's been having some good days of camp. Looking forward to watching this whole D-line play. And if the D-line is wounded tomorrow, we're going to get to see a lot of Arden Key.
A lot of great athleticism coming off the edge. Couple that with the length that he has. He's very long. He's able to get offensive players away from him extended and then be able to make moves. He'll be successful. I think him under Chris Kacerek is a perfect marriage.
I agree with you there. It is 100% a perfect marriage. Question 2, is Javon Kinlaw going to succeed as a great interior defensive lineman?
Yep. The ascension is going to happen this year. Javon Kinlaw was figuring it out last year, working on getting his pad level low, working on getting his hand placement right. Played a lot more snaps than he should have last year just because of the injuries. This year he'll be more in a rotation, so he'll be healthier. He'll be able to get out there 100%, and he'll be successful. And he's going to be a real beast to stop on the interior defensive line because you don't think people are not going to be focused on the edge rushers when you have Armstead, Bosa, D. Ford, and Samson Ebukam. They are definitely going to be focused on those guys. That'll leave one-on-one matchups in the interior for DJ Jones and Kinlaw.
Agreed. Javon Kinlaw is primed for a huge year, not just the size. Second year with Kacerek, a lot of time to develop and work on different move sets and skill sets. There was all the talk last year coming out of camp, and specifically one Thanos putting out there that he was doing nothing but bull rushing and all this stuff. And it was accurate, but they were working on technique. They're working on hand placement. They're working on body position with this guy.
Pad level.
Trying to get him comfortable playing with a lower pad level because he's a big, huge freak of nature specimen.
Yeah, and if you're tall like that and you allow people to get underneath you and get into your chest plate, you're going to lose every time.
Correct.
It doesn't matter how big you are. So getting the right technique was the most important thing, and they did what they had to do, build that muscle memory and get that technique right, and Now it's good. Now it's right. And you don't pancake Alex Mack unless you have great technique and are able to play with great leverage.
Correct. And it's been slowly building for Kinlaw since about the middle of last season. He was getting better, a little bit better and analytically better each and every snap in terms of his get off, how quick he was, to apply pressure, getting in the backfield to cause tackles for losses, or forcing runs to stretch or bounce or not be able to hit the designated hole. Kinlaw, metrically, measured out better the second half of the season than the first half of the season, which is not a surprise because Chris Kasarik does this with players. Players get better under Chris Kasarik on this D-line. That's just what happens. Look at Kentavious Street and the camp he's put together so far. Look at how much he has changed, right? When he's been healthy, how much he has improved. Kinlaw is on that same sort of trajectory, except to the moon because of all the freak size and athleticism that he has.
And the added aspect of having these extra guys back that were injured last year.
Correct.
He produced what he produced last year with no help.
None.
I mean, he had Kerry Hyder, but I mean, he did not have Nick Bosa and all these other guys. So if you get him out there in a lineup that has Armstead, D Ford, and Nick Bosa, who do you think they're going to double team?
They ain't going to be double teaming Javon Kinlaw.
No, they're not. And then he's going to have an opportunity to make a play, and then he better do it. He better take advantage of those opportunities, or he won't be on the field, and Samson Ebukam will be out there with those guys.
Which is just crazy.
Which is scary for everyone else.
Not NASCAR package, drag race package.
It is.
It's going to be quick, lightning fast. Question 3 from Jag. Does Ambry Thomas become corner 3 this year?
That is the hope. I think that is the hope. If he can keep stacking on these 3 days that he had, I think he can develop through camp enough to be cornerback 3. So I think that's what we're really hoping. It was either going to be him or Diomede Lenore. I don't think it was initially supposed to be Dante Johnson, but now Johnson's kind of sitting in that 3 spot right now. So Ambry Thomas has got to go take it, but I think he can do it. He has the talent to do it. He's just got to put good days together, and it looks like that's what he's doing.
No, I agree with you. I think he's becoming it. He's starting to put together the days to show that he can handle the grind in the NFL. He can develop and grow. And I think people were kind of rushing and jumping to conclusions in terms of, his struggles early on. He's a rookie, folks. Let's not forget that whole year off of football. Let's not forget that either. I can tell you what, I took a whole year off from a lot of things. It's really, really hard coming back into those things, even if you've been doing them for your entire life. It takes time to reacclimate. It takes time to readjust. So give him time. The more time he has, the better he's going to get. And we don't need him to be cornerback 2 this year. Mosley has shown he can be that. We just want him to be as close to cornerback 2, as humanly possible.
Yep. I agree with that 100%.
Closer he gets, the better for us.
Yep, we're on the right track. This guy, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in person and seeing how he handles physicality of other receivers.
Agreed. David Campbell talked about Mike McDaniel's presser yesterday. He said the guy is funny, becoming must-watch. Funny, socially awkward, brilliant.
Yes, the way he even opened up the presser was hilarious. And then he ends it with, let's see D'Amico Ryans follow that one up. So it's exciting to see how he handles it. And he gives a lot of great information. He's very, very good about making sure that he doesn't give out any scheme information, but he gives out a lot of information that you can really look into and see where where the team's coming from, where he's looking at as far as breaking down technique, skills, and all that stuff. So yeah, I enjoy watching his pressers. He's actually one of my favorite ones to watch now.
Agreed. Monica, we'll see you later. Always love it when you're tuning in.
Later, Monica.
I agree with you there. Mike McDaniel is he might be the smartest guy in the room in San Francisco.
Hey, yo.
He might be.
Could be.
And it's one of those things, right, as a head coach, you always want to be this. You always want the other coaches, right? As a head coach, you don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. Because if you're not the smartest guy in the room, that means you got a bunch of other guys around you who are highly intelligent, who aren't yes men, who are going to tell you the things that you need to see that maybe you're not seeing, or be able to confirm the things that you already are thinking and already doing. This promotion for Mike McDaniels is going to do a lot for this offense. He's coming into his own very quickly. This is a younger guy still, too. This is not an older gentleman. This is a younger dude. I'd just like to see the interactions that he's having with the guys because he doesn't give off the traditional football player vibe. He gives off a football nerd vibe. That's the vibe that he gives off, and I'm here for all of it. I love it.
Yeah, thank you, David Campbell, for the super chat. He said, looking forward to you guys' take on camp. Thanks for all the hard work on the channel. It's much appreciated. We appreciate you so much. We appreciate all the comments, and watching all the time. And it's really been great interaction throughout this time that you've been following. So it's been awesome. Yeah, you're right about McDaniels, and he's fun. And I've listened to him talk about his story of growing up and going to Denver Broncos training camp and all that. So this is a guy that's just been around football his whole life, been around Shanahan's his whole life, and he's an interesting guy with an interesting take on football, and I'm glad he's on our side.
Agreed. Agreed there.
Yeah.
Definitely. Danny O, I like that. That's one of the first comments I've seen from Danny O here on the channel. He thinks that Jimmy is going to be balling out, being as this is probably his last year. This has kind of been our thought process, too. This is kind of something that Shanahan talked about a little bit, right, is lighting a fire under these guys and, everyone, having to fight for a job and having to earn their way and earn their keep. That's kind of been the theme of this team this year is they went out and drafted and got guys at certain positions for specifically that, to work, to push, to get the best out of everybody. And right now, Jimmy G's got a fire lit under him, and Jimmy G looks like the best version of Jimmy G that we've seen coming into any training camp so far. I think it bodes well for the 49ers.
Yeah, you have two responses to something like this, to the adversity. You either fold, they drafted my replacement, get upset, get irritated and don't play well, or you have a response, and I'm not going to say it's going to be an Aaron Rodgers response, but Aaron Rodgers went and had an MVP season after they drafted Jordan Love. That is the response you expect from a competitor and a big-time competitor. So I think we like the way that Jimmy Garoppolo's body looks, as far as he looks like he came in great shape. He has a great mindset for the season. He's attacking the season. But once again, I'm going to pump the brakes on how good Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be until I see him in a game. I want to see how he does in preseason games. If it's translating with the work that he's putting in, if it translates to preseason games, then yes, maybe he'll have a great season. He's going to have a great season to stave off Trey Lance. So I am excited for the possibility of what he could do this season, though, if he can hold off Trey Lance and keep this starting job.
Correct, because here's the thing, right? When Trey goes in, Trey's going to have success. He's got all the athletic tools. He's got the talent around him. He's got the solidified O-line. He has all the pieces to have success, and there's no film on him. True. There is no film on him. So teams can prepare all they want for Trey Lance. They can come up and scheme all the things that they want to scheme, but at the end of the day, they're not going to have that film on him to know fully with certainty his decision-makings, his tendencies, what he does, his weaknesses. You're not going to be able to put all that together on the limited snaps that he's going to be playing this year. They will be able to do that going into year 2, though.
True.
Because all those things will be there. And that's when the real test for Trey is going to come. So 49ers fans, faithful, this is one of the things that isn't being talked about. Don't put heavy amounts of stock into the amount of success Trey Lance has in year 1. All the success Trey Lance has in year 1, again, is just more potential. It's great things for the 49ers. It's positive stuff for this team. But there is a big caveat, and that is that year 2 sophomore slump. That is a reality. That happens.
It's not happening.
I don't believe it's going to either.
Yeah.
But you have to prepare for it as a 49ers fan. Just because year 1 is great doesn't necessarily mean year 2 is going to be the same levels of great. There may be great moments. There may be some more bad than there was in year 1, but that's because teams are going to have that film, have that tape, have those tendencies, be able to exploit those things. And this is the problem with 49ers fans sometimes, is we're a little bit too overreactive to things. Something happens, we have immediate kick reaction to it. We go over the top, we blow it up. Talking heads don't help that either. So I just want Trey. I don't want the fan base putting too much on Trey. I want this guy to have success. I want him to be able to do it. I don't want him to feel like the world's on his shoulders, even though it is, right? Trey knows it is, especially when he takes over as the coach. Every 49ers fan knows it is, right? Because if you move on from Jimmy and Trey is the guy and then Trey doesn't pan out, this blows up in everyone's face. That's not going to happen. I don't believe it's going to happen, but I want everyone to curtail what they expect. My expectation fully is that Trey's first year, we may not win a Super Bowl. I'm okay with that. I just want to see, if we're getting into the playoffs and pushing for an NFC Championship game with him him in his first full year as a starter, then for me, my personal opinion, this team is way ahead of schedule. Because every time you get new pieces and new people in place, there's that climb, right? You have to overcome adversity. You have to experience some things before you get over the hump, right? Patrick Mahomes comes in, gets to a couple AFC Championship games, gets up against Tom Brady and gets defeated and thwarted and sent back down the rung, and you got to make the climb back up, kid. And that Chiefs team has to make that climb back up. And then they finally get over the hump. They get back there against Tom in 2020, right? Get to slay Tom, finally get that Super Bowl against Tom, and Tom takes him down a notch again, and he goes right back to the bottom after being on top and having to climb his way back up. Trey Lance is going to have that same sort of thing going on here. I want to see how high he can get up in year 1. I don't expect him to get all the way to the tip top. And luckily for him, I think he's got a much better roster than even what Patrick Mahomes had last year.
I mean, I agree to a point. I think one thing I will say is that you can't measure what someone's going to do in their second year before they've even played a game.
Correct.
Number one.
Correct.
Because we can all remember that when Joe Montana took over in 1981, as far as he became the full-time guy, and that was his full first full year as a starter, he won a Super Bowl. So sometimes people do get over the hump in their first year. So I mean, it's their first year as a starter. So I don't know what Trey Lance is going to be. And I'm going to stay consistent in the fact that I've never seen him play a single NFL snap.
Correct.
So I can't tell you what he's going to do in year 2. The one thing I will say, though, is usually quarterbacks that play for Kyle Shanahan get better as they get into the system and not worse.
Sure.
So I'm going to take a watch and see approach. I'm going to see how they use him this year, whether he's used with Jimmy Garoppolo and how that is used. And then I'll formulate an opinion on what he will do next year. And if I see great things from him, then I'll get an idea of what he's going to look like next year. But the sophomore slump is a real thing, but it's not always a real thing with some quarterbacks. So it does depend on the quarterback.
It does.
Some guys just don't have it. So I don't know if Trey's that guy yet. I haven't seen enough.
We haven't seen anything.
We're eight practices in.
Accurate.
You know what I mean? And that's one of the crazy things is we're 8 practices in and we're already planning out this guy's entire life. It's like the girl you go on a date with, and then she plans out marriage already. It's like, wait, what just happened?
Next time you guys go to dinner, she's got your 4 kids' names, where you're going to get married, where you guys going to settle down and buy your house at, and you're like, I'm still trying to figure out what your middle name is.
I would think Trey Lance is looking at the media like, wait a second, let's back off. We just started dating. I'm not ready for this yet.
I did enjoy Matt Miyoko talking about that a little bit because he's been hyping up Trey, hyping up Trey, and then he went on KMBR and he was like, can we also just pump the brakes? I feel like I need to say that. We need to pump the brakes a little bit because you do. Everyone needs to pump the brakes just a little bit. It is all good and all dandy to just let yourself get over the top with something and let yourself just become enamored with something, especially with Trey Lance and all the physical tools and all the things he could possibly do for this team and all the possibilities, right, of what all the doors Trey Lance opens for this team. But it's another thing for those things to be realized. And we gotta let ourselves get to even just a snap of football first before we get to any of that extra.
Yes, I'll never get ahead of it because I've coached and I have seen guys and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is going to be an absolute beast. And then we got into football time and it started hitting and that dude was not an absolute beast. And I've had guys that you were like, I don't know if this guy can do anything. And then he gets into an actual game situation and he tears it up. So, people do surprise you. When the lights come on, people react different ways. It's always better to wait and bide your time and make decisions later. No decisions are going to be made, I guarantee you this, on who's going to start for these 49ers until they play their last preseason game. Then they'll lock it all down. So we are a little premature on this. Plus, Matt Miyoko, you're right about that, about him saying pump the brakes, and he probably should because he's the same guy that the rookie year of C.J. Beathard said that Beathard looked fantastic and was ready to go. So let's remember that.
It's accurate. And Frank there had brought up Hardy Brown,
Mm-hmm.
a 49ers linebacker, right, from 51 to, I think it was 55. I could be wrong on the years there. The only reason I know about it is because my dad used to talk about Hardy Brown being one of the more vicious linebackers that ever played for the 49ers. And I was like, did you ever watch film of him? He's like, no, but I've read all the stories. So I was like, okay, cool. Thanks, guy. I appreciate it. It's one of those things I wish I could watch. You wish you could watch more film of those 50s games.
Yeah.
But look, I think Frank there, you should definitely check out a Cutback in Time. And when we release that actual schedule in terms of where that's going to be and what we're doing with it, you're definitely going to want to check those out because we may be having to do some stuff there about Mr. Brown.
I think that's a good idea to have that. And a 49ers Cutback in Time will be returning soon. We are working on that very feverishly to get it together, but that will be coming up soon, and that's a good topic to have. And anytime people have suggestions of players or times or memories to go over, I'm excited to get into it. So I like that one. And I seen we got a new subscriber as well.
We do. We got a new subscriber. Stream Elements is a little behind on it, and I think that I missed it. So I will take a look here and see if Stream Elements is up to snuff and what they're doing there, but sometimes it takes a little bit to update.
Yeah.
So we appreciate the new sub.
We do.
Thank you for joining the Cutback crew. Welcome. We really appreciate you doing that and becoming a member of this, man. It's been a crazy week, Ant. The Cutback crew has grown at a crazy rate this week, which we love to see. And the best part is you guys are growing at the perfect time. You're coming in and being a part of the Cutback crew at the literal perfect time because season's about to start.
It's true.
Preseason games are going to be happening, and our best content, the best content is going to be coming from this channel. We've done a lot of great stuff with the preseason and the draft and all of that, and everyone's been talking about in the Cutback crew how much they like all the stuff we put out. They appreciate the content. The best content is still to come, folks. That's the best part about the year. We got our best stuff, right? Our Lock It Up segments, our preview shows, our pregame shows, our postgame shows. That's some of our best content that we've ever put out on the channel. You're going to have a whole season of it. 17 games worth of it in the regular season. And then, hopefully a nice big fat Super Bowl run.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, it is fun. It's a lot of exciting times. We kind of ratchet up a little bit even more during the season, so they can expect that. The preview shows are fun to watch. The recap shows are fun to watch. We'll give full reaction shows this year too, so it's going to be a lot of excitement and a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it because I think people are going to enjoy what we put together, and everything like that. So if you've never seen any of our previous stuff, you can go back and watch some of our old stuff. It's just going to be a little bit better than it was last year because we're a little bit better than we were. That was our first run at it, and we're going to be ready. But we're feverishly working on it, and then once we get into these games, it's going to be exciting. And throughout preseason, there's going to be a lot of exciting things as far as game days as well. So. All announcements will come in due time, but this is going to be a fun time to be a 49ers Cutback, follower and subscriber, and make sure you are and hit that notification bell so you know every time a video comes on. It's important.
Yeah, it is important because knowing right when it comes out and being able to stay up to date with everything we got coming out on the channel, you're going to want to do that. You want to be the first ones in because then you have all the information. You can show off to all your friends. That's what you want to do. You want to be able to take all this knowledge that we're going to be throwing in your faces and have time to digest it and then be able to spit it out yourself and be like, and look at all this cool stuff that I got. And then you can direct them right here to the 49ers Cutback.
Yeah, lots of info at the water cooler, right?
Tons of info at the water cooler. We're the coolest water cooler in town.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I like that.
Maybe in the world.
Yeah. In the whole world?
In the whole world. At least the 49ers water cooler.
Yeah, there you go.
At Levi's, we'll just say that. With the cool water cooler at Levi's. At least tomorrow, anyway. That'll be the case.
Yeah.
Look, chat, any other questions you got? Right now is the time. Throw them in. Let us have it. We'll take some more questions. We'll sit here and chat it up a little bit more with you. And then we're going to turn in for the night and get prepped for tomorrow because we got a nice little trip up to Levi's. We got a nice little fun stuff to get ready for.
Pinor.
Oh, my God. All I'm saying is church is going to miss Pinor. It's football season. Oh, my Lord almighty. Time for sin in Pinor.
Apparently, there are no early services for Pinor.
Hot diggity dog, man! I thought they had early church service before football games. Apparently, that's not a thing where Pinor's at.
Yeah.
My goodness gracious almighty! Frank keeps talking about the fabulous '50s NFL film, talking about Leo Namalini. Ironically enough, the very first draft pick for the 49ers once they came into the NFL.
Yeah, and we have a cutback in time that's going to be coming up eventually about the 50s, and that is going to be something to watch. There was a specific event that happened. I won't give it away, but
won't spoil it.
We definitely get into it because we are going to try to cover all throughout 49ers history and kind of bring that. So, I think that there are always good conversations, and he's bringing up some good ones. And also, Mark Dennis Anthony was the sub. Thanks, Stream Elements, for putting that on there.
Finally, Stream Elements.
Yeah, thank you for that. We appreciate it. We missed it on the when it popped up. But welcome to the 49ers Cutback crew. We really enjoy having you. Interact, have fun with everybody that's there. It's exciting. It's fun.
It's a good time in here. It's a good time. Caleb, can we get a one-on-one interview with our tribal chief? And by our tribal chief, I'm assuming he means his tribal chief.
I think he means Sudfeld. Yeah,
I think he means Sudfeld as well.
Yeah.
I don't believe we're going to be able to, Caleb, because they have to keep some distancing from the fans. They're not able to come up and fully interact fully. But maybe we can get a Nate Sudfeld 49ers Cutback shout-out.
Yeah.
Maybe we can be getting him on video just giving us a shout-out TCC. And then, we can get your reaction to that, Caleb, and then make that a nice little compilation we play during live streams.
That would be awesome. I don't know how close we're going to be able to get to these guys, but it's going to be fun to see them in person. Caleb's tribal chief.
Caleb's tribal chief, indeed. Brad Jones, great question here. How long do we reckon Trey is going to be playing in the first preseason game against the Chiefs?
I would say probably 1.5 to 2 quarters. That would be my guess.
My thought process is always about 2 quarters. I figured Jimmy probably would get a quarter and then Trey get 2. But if that may not happen. Jimmy may get like a drive or 2. Trey finish out the first half and then play a little bit of the second half, and then they'll let Rosen and Sudfeld duke it out in that third and fourth quarter.
I won't be shocked if one of either Sudfeld or Rosen don't play in the first game.
If you were a betting man right now, who would you say isn't playing in the first game?
Rosen.
That's what I would say too.
Yeah. If I had to guess, it would be Jimmy for the first quarter, 2 quarters for, Lance, and then Sudfeld plays the fourth quarter. That would be my guess, but we'll see what happens, because it is 3 preseason games, not 4, which they normally had before. So they might split it up a little bit different, but First and second team are still going to get, the reps that they need to get. First team won't play that much, though.
No,
they might not even play the whole first quarter, depending on how it goes.
Accurate. It's gonna take a little bit of time. They may get a drive or two. Most yesterday was a perfect example of what you might expect, right? You saw like Ben Roethlisberger out there for like a drive and a half. You're just not going to see a whole lot of the first team. Just doesn't make any sense. That first preseason game, right? You're coming up on first cuts. You're not making guys who are on your first team are not getting cut right now. There's no reason for them to get a lot of run or a lot of playing time, a lot of opportunities. You're trying to figure out who are the first few guys that you're cutting off this roster. Who are they going to be? Those guys aren't on your first and or your second team. They're on your third. They're on your fourth. They're down the bench. So you got to give those guys an opportunity to put something on film so you can make those tough decisions.
And Caleb brought up getting a 2-sweet from one of the players. Our best hope is probably George Kittle.
Oh, 100%.
Knowing that he's a huge wrestling fan, we could probably get a 2-sweet from him.
Let's hope we do.
Yeah.
Let's hope we do.
That would be fantastic.
Kittle, if you're watching this, what's up? Hey, you wish my brother happy birthday. Now you should wish us a happy 1-year anniversary for being on YouTube when the time comes and come on the podcast. Maybe you should just do that. Maybe.
Did you see what David Campbell said?
I missed it.
Did you guys hear D Ford talking about his rehab?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a fantastic interview. The one thing that struck me right away is because D Ford is a very nice guy as far as when he's dealing with the media, was the question about retirement, and it was a hell no. So he has not thought about it. He's very fired up about what he's going through. Talked about the differences between before when he had the back injuries, they were lower back, and then now this one was an upper back. That's why he didn't realize that it was kind of related and it was a similar thing. But anyone that starts to learn about that kind of stuff knows that once one part of your back, you have an issue, it's going to radiate. It's eventually going to cause a back problem somewhere else because you're overcompensating, you're twisting, you're changing into the way you walk, the way you move. So it was always going to be that way. So they think they've got this thing figured out. So hopefully they do. But he's looked good so far, so I'm excited.
X, that's a good idea. Saying Elite there, we should tweet about him about the anniversary. He'll probably give us an anniversary shout out, and then we can ask him to come on the podcast afterwards.
There you
go. Good idea. Great idea. But yeah, no, the D Ford interview. That's what I loved the most about it, and it was the thing you had brought up and talked about was just that with him. You can see the motivation this guy has.
Yeah.
This guy wants to prove something. He's not content with what he's already done in this league and the things he's accomplished. He wants to show that he's still that guy. He can still be that guy. And he wants to be that guy for years to come. I don't think this is a guy who wants to be done with football in the next 2 years. That looked like the fire in his eyes during that interview and the reaction, the hell no to that question, is the type of response that you expect to hear from a guy who is going to be sticking around for some time, which is great for the 49ers because if he can stay healthy, he hasn't lost a step yet. Not even close.
No, and he even admitted he's not 100% yet. Like, he's still working to form.
Which is scary.
And he was out there, I know today he was giving Mike McGlinchey some fits, which you expect, especially in one-on-ones. Once again, Mike McGlinchey having to block in one-on-ones is not a good situation. It's not a good situation for a lot of linemen, unless you're an all-pro, future Hall of Famer like Trent Williams, where you just own almost everyone. But even then, Anthony Zettel got him. So
sure,
it happens. One-on-ones are not a good way to really figure it out how somebody is doing. But, I like D Ford's attitude. I thought he was more aggressive. It was kind of the way that we got Jimmy attitude when he was presser. That was we got from D Ford. There's a little edginess, a little aggressiveness from these veterans who are tired of it. They want to prove that they are still capable of playing at a high level, and they kind of feel slighted that people are talking about them. I like the chip on the shoulder.
Agreed.
I think these guys are going to come out there and make some plays this year.
Agree with you. Jag here with a great question. Do you think a player such as Fred Dean could be a successful edge rusher in today's game? Yeah,
he could. I think the one thing that the crazy part about Fred Dean, right, was all the cigarette smoking and all the things that he did. Also the fact that he was a lot smaller than the players are currently. But he was very good at what he did, so it's hard to see players that translate from one to the other. But in a league that is basically built around edge pass rushers, the way the NFL is, because you have to get after the quarterback, Fred Dean could definitely carve out a niche for himself. Because I don't see that much difference in him as far as stature from like a Jordan Willis or somebody like that. So he could get it done, but yeah, the whole cigarette thing and all that wouldn't fly in today's NFL.
I mean, if he still did that, he may have success, but it's going to be very short-term success in this league. Because the athletes today and the way they take care of their bodies and improve themselves and get ready and prepared. If you're not doing those things, you're not going to be at the same level of condition. You're not going to be able to do the same types of things. So he'd have shorter success. He might still have success. That mean streak and that mean edge of his, though, that can't be. There's a lot of guys who have that type of edge, so that would obviously give him an edge up, and that's what would make him so unique and different in this game of football. Because this game of football doesn't have the same level of violence and tenacity. It's there to an extent, but it's also curtailed a little bit to protect the players. So it'd be an interesting dynamic to see him in, because you don't know if he'd be the same type of guy in terms of that level of intensity. But if you just took that version of Fred Dean and dropped him into today's NFL, he'd have some success. Question would just be how long.
Yeah, how long and at what level.
Exactly.
Because the offensive linemen are tremendously bigger as well.
Very true. Stronger, faster than they've ever been. I mean, it's everything.
Yeah.
Everything. But what do you think about BK? I think it's talking about Webb that we just brought in. Heard he was playing good across from Verrett today.
I want to see him. I mean, I do. I want to see more than one practice, but I mean, I saw a little bit about him. He's similar stature to Verrett and similar style of play. But I'm not going out there and expecting a whole lot from this guy yet. Just want to see how he translates. But until I see some film on him, I can't really comment too much on it.
I haven't watched a lot of film of him playing. I've looked at some of his stats. I've looked at some of his numbers. He has started games in this league, so this isn't a scrub.
No, not by any means.
By any means, no. However, and this is a big however, he started and played on two defenses that were statistically two of the worst defenses in the league the years that he was a starter, and he didn't put up a lot of deflections, pass breakups. He did give up a lot of completions. So this is a guy who, he's not by any means, if you're worried about him being a Brian Allen, you don't have to worry about that. He's not that, right? He's not that. He will get beat. He's not perfect. Again, the nice thing for a guy like Webb is you're coming into a system in San Francisco where you have the front seven that you have.
Correct.
So you're not asked to be an incredible defender. You're asked to be able to do basic, simple things, not get beat over the top, right? Keep guys in front of you, and if they're going to make catches, they need to be as difficult as humanly possible, because the harder you're making catches for receivers in space, the harder it is for quarterbacks to get the timing down right, harder for them to put the ball in the right spot, because they're going to have pressure in their face as well, which makes the completion that much harder to do. So Webb is going to have an opportunity to show out, especially with guys being down and things of that nature. But with Mosley getting healthy, Aubrey Thomas starting to step up, that window for him is getting smaller and smaller in terms of his opportunity to make this team.
Yes, I agree. And did you see a comment? Was it from, did I read that right? Was it Dad?
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
Yes, all reporters lied about D Ford. He's never going to trust him again, that one.
Yeah, don't trust them. Trust us. We did a breakdown video of D Ford and talked about the impact he would have in 2021. We were not buying either that he was retiring. Just the way he was talking, the conversations that John Lynch was having, their interaction, the fact he restructured, did not show anything and any sign that he was going to retire. So we were definitely not on that part, but we understand where you're coming from. Sometimes it's hard to understand and believe what you're hearing from some of these people.
Tommy, 6 months to grow what? Talking about the mustache?
I think he's talking about the little facial beard.
Yeah. I mean, no. I'm required to shave. In fact, I'm probably gonna be required to shave when I go home. Got a fiance who doesn't like stubble.
Wow.
It's the life, unfortunately.
Wow, just living on bended knee over here.
Hey, sometimes you make small sacrifices, right? So that you don't have to make big sacrifices. No. Listen, you shave the beard so that I can come record on the podcast. That's the sacrifice.
Yeah, that's a sacrifice for you.
Not for you.
No.
No, you get to grow it out. It needs to be glorious.
Someone tells me to shave the beard, they just don't make the cut.
I mean, look, there are some people that's the line for. That's all fine. That's not my line.
No, that's fine.
Everyone's line's different, right?
People make different choices.
People helping people.
I mean, it's okay if yours is wrong. It's fine.
You're killing me. You're killing me here. Look, chat, you've been absolutely incredible tonight. Cutback crew, like always. Oh, I like this. Hold on a second. Brad with the last minute question here. I like this. What's the edge defensive depth chart look like?
Well, I think you have to start out with Armstead and Bosa.
Accurate.
Those guys are the top of the list.
And Armstead starting at end.
Yes, he is a base 4-3 defensive end. You start with those guys, and then you go D Ford and Ebucom after them, followed by Arden Key.
Yep.
And I think those are probably the 5 edge rushers you're going to keep.
I don't think you're going to keep any more than that.
No. I mean, there's possibilities. I mean, Jordan Willis is suspended, or he would have a shot to make this roster.
Accurate.
But on the interior, you have a lot of guys too, so I would say those are the 5 guys that I would kind of lean into.
At the edge spot, that's exactly those are the 5 guys that I would go with in that order, with Arden Key being a guy that's probably going to bounce on both sides.
Yeah, well, he's the base 4-3 defensive end that can rotate with Armstead on downs, Bosa on those downs. So he makes sense there. So, I mean, I think those are the guys. We'll see what they ultimately decide to do. This is going to be one of the toughest rooms to cut down in.
Agreed. Luke wants us to talk about depth a little bit behind Ambry Thomas, and depending on development, what the depth kind of looks like. It's
well, it all depends on how much faith you have in Dante Johnson.
Correct.
Because once again, we have Diamador Lenore, but we don't know what we're going to get out of Diamador Lenore. We haven't heard not very much out of the media about Demo. So since there's not that much information, I don't know what to tell you. I will definitely be watching Demo on tomorrow to see what's going on there. But as far as the other guys, I mean, you have Dante Johnson and now you have Webb. Those are the guys sitting behind. But I think there's not a lot of depth there. I mean, that's why we kept toying around with the idea of them possibly bringing back Richard Sherman, before everything happened, because you did see that weakness, and I thought we all were looking to improve off of Dante Johnson, but he's a guy that can play inside and outside, and he played decent last year with his edge rush. And pass rush, you can kind of get by with it, but that's why they look to bring in Webb, because there's not a lot of great choices out there, and I mean, so we'll see what happens ultimately.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do, because right now there is a little bit of a wavering in terms of the depth, especially with them letting go of Tim Harris and letting him kind of walk. What exactly is this going to look like with the secondary? What are the pieces going to be? It'll be very interesting to see if the Niners decide to go with a veteran guy, right? A guy who's been here before, like a Dante Johnson, or if they're going to let the new guy Webb kind of slide in and sneak his way into that roster in that last spot as the vet presence type of guy. I would lean more towards Dante Johnson right now, just because of the flexibility like you talked about. And there's also potential flexibility with Diamador Lenore, and we'll get a better idea of that tomorrow as well, in which then you have a guy like Shark who can just focus on the inside. You have Ambry Thomas as your main guy on the outside, and then you have guys like Diamador Lenore and Deontay Johnson who could be there. I don't think they're going to keep more than 5 DBs.
5 corners?
Five corners. I think 5 is the number.
It is.
So only one of those guys is going to make it. I would imagine that because they invested the capital in Diamador Lenore, that he has the edge, the inside track. Wait and see, though. He's still gonna have to earn it. He's still gonna have to prove it.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got to make it. I mean, he's still got to make this roster. I don't think his spot is secure, but I think he's definitely sitting in a better position than some of these other veterans that they're bringing in late. So we'll see. I seen that Jag also asked if we thought Maurice Hurst was going to make the 53-man roster. We did the before training camp 53-man roster, and we had him on there. We have Maurice making it because I think me and you both believe he's a very talented guy that is going to make plays in the interior part of this defensive line. Now, that defensive line is stout, and we kind of thought Kentavious Street wasn't going to make it, and he's been showing out. So we'll see if Maurice Hurst can catch up to him, because if he can, then he can make this roster. But that's what I'm saying. This defensive line is going to be the hardest one for cuts. I think Mo is right there at the edge, but he should be able to make this team. The fact that we're even talking about him not making this team
crazy
shows how much depth they have on that defensive line.
I mean, look at how much has changed in just 8 days.
Oh yeah,
right. In just 8 days of practice, this guy went from a guy that we were pretty comfortable with him being on this roster to now a guy sliding back a little bit ways. And I wouldn't say he's necessarily in danger, but he's no longer safe.
True.
Like, he's no longer safe, and in our minds, 100% going to be there. He's fighting. He's going to be fighting. And that's going to be a lot of positions on this team for the 49ers. There's a lot of guys fighting.
Yeah, that's true. There's going to be a lot of battles still coming up. The practices against the Chargers are going to be big for that, and then also these preseason games are going to be important, especially for these depth players, to prove that they deserve a spot on this 53-man roster, because it's one of the most talented teams in the NFL.
Accurate. Definitely one of the most talented teams in the NFL. And you know what, Ant? This is one of the best podcasts and most talented podcasts in all the land, all the YouTubes, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Google Pods, wherever you listen to podcasts or watch this show. It's a pretty good one. And we got us to thank for that. We got specifically the Cutback crew to thank for that.
Yeah.
Because all of this is impossible without all of you who subscribe, share these videos, comment in all the videos, helping push the video out and into the algorithm on YouTube and helping us out. We really appreciate that. Whether you're subscribed, right, hitting that notification bell, or it's your first time on this channel, first time super chatting, getting something from the merch shop at 49erscutbackshop.com, no matter what it is, Cutback crew, you make this show special, you make this show great. We cannot thank you enough for everything you do for us and everything you do for this channel. None of it's possible without you.
No, we appreciate it. We appreciate the support, the interaction. It's all important. These conversations are fun when they're two ways. If it was a one-way conversation, it wouldn't be fun. So that's what's the most exciting, is being able to interact with other 49er fans, talk about the team that we so passionately care about, and then just kind of enjoy the ups and turmoil together through these downs. But make sure you pay attention tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to have a lot of content from what we see there. Depending on how everything goes, we'll put out as much as we can. So it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be exciting. We're going to be able to talk about what we see. And over the next week, we're going to get to be able to talk about it a lot, because we're going to get out there a few times. So it's going to be fun.
A lot of things to talk about. A lot of great things coming up on this channel in the future. You don't want to miss any of it. Make sure you're subscribed. 49ers fans, we'll see you all tomorrow from Levi's. Get hyped. Get excited. Ant, though, I think you know what time it is.
Yep, you know what time it is. Let's chalk another one up.
See you all tomorrow. Absolutely.
We're on the same page.
We're on the same page already. That live stream tomorrow, by the way, is going to be at 8:30, correct?
Hopefully, yes.
8:30 is the hope.
Hey, 8:30, 9 o'clock, somewhere in there.
So just be ready. Make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you'll know right away as soon as it goes up.
Yes, sir.
Later.